you're clearly not rooting for Hillary, but are you rooting for Trump?
No. I mean, if we have good information on Trump, we publish that. If we have good information on Hillary, the Democrats, we publish that. It is a bit concerning, the allegations that by the Clinton campaign that everyone is a Russian agent are really disturbing. Why is that? Well, because bizarrely, Hillary Clinton, the Democrat, has positioned herself now to be the security candidate. She's powered up with the neocons responsible for the Iraq War, and she's grabbed on to this kind of neo-McCarthyist hysteria about Russia and is using that to demonize the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign has all sorts of things wrong with it, but as far as we can see, being Russian agents is not one of them. Some people have asked us, when will you release information on Donald Trump? And of course, we are very interested in all countries to reveal the truth about different candidates so people can understand. But it's really hard for us to release anything worse than what comes out of Donald Trump's mouth every second day. I mean, it's part of his charismatic appeal that he speaks off the cuff.
Next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another evening of the AlphaWarrior Show, a conversation with just Alpha. We're in episode 519. It is February 9th, at least for a few more hours here on the West Coast. And got a lot to cover tonight. The Guthrie kidnapping, or is it? We'll touch on that. Massie versus Trump, that's heating up. Obama monkeys versus the 2020 fraud. We just can't get enough of that. Epstein, unredacted. And of course, we're going to be talking about some Hillary Clinton stuff and a whole lot more. Do me a solid while you guys are here. I know it's late and it's been a while. It's been about 2 weeks since we had the opportunity to do a Just Alpha show. And that's because yours truly is out there doing some, not just a podcaster stuff. Anyways, keep you guys in your prayers, and I appreciate that. But smash the thumb, hit the heart, leave a comment, and share this out. I can you guys use your guys' support for that. I want to get Rumble over 1,000 tonight. You know, we've never missed that mark. I don't want this to be the first night with the Just Alpha, and I want everybody to know that we are back. So with that, let's pay some bills so we can keep this content free. And first on deck, of course, coming out of Rumble, if I can get it to work. I did this last time. Let's try this one more time. Bear with me, folks. This is the best part of a live show. And we'll try to come back to it later if we can. So with that, we'll get to our other sponsors. And all those links are down in the description. We'll be back in a moment.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, Get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
And before we get to our next ad, I did miss a Rumble rant from last night or 2 nights ago, whenever the heck it was. No, it was last night. It was Sunday. It was yesterday. During the day, it wasn't the nighttime. There, get your stuff together, Alpha. Yacked and rusty. I am. It was during the show, the Middle East in 30 minutes ish. We're talking ghost time there. And Alan S333, who's one of the OGs, always here supporting the show, dropped a $10 Rumble rant and said, "Thank you for keeping us sane and helping us see the truth." My apologies, Alan, for missing that yesterday. And Miss Rhea, Freedom Fighter, will get to yours and the rest of the Rumble rants that come in tonight, because I'm hoping they do at the end of the show. But with that, let's get to some 1775 coffee, and hopefully it works now. And it does. There we go. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped, only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold, dark roast that hits hard, the smooth, medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. I like that. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. So go and support the people that support Rumble and this podcast. And now let's get started and bring the show up on the screen. Let me zoom in. It's been a minute, folks. I get rusty when we get a week off or something. You saw the opening video, and shout out to Anon55 getting retruthed by President Trump on that. And just a little background on that post is he never posted that on Truth. So that means Trump went to X and grabbed that video and then posted it on Truth. So that in of itself kind of goes and confirms some of the conversations that me and Josh have had about, you know, X is this comms platform. But on top of that, you saw the way that video ends. Information warfare. I mean, this is something that I just, been just beating at to make sure I understand it and all of you fine folk understand it, because that's where we're at. And so for President Trump to go and post a video that straight out just says information warfare, that says, a government should fear its people. We shouldn't fear our government. Like those are powerful points. And a lot of stuff we cover tonight will supplement that. And we may even play that video again at the end of the show tonight, because it was under 2 minutes and wasn't that long. But coming out of the gate, let's just get warmed up here. You have FBI Director Kash Patel. Yeah, posts a series of American flags. This was on February 7th. So 2 days ago, 3 days ago for some of you guys. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. It's not uncommon for them to post all these flags. There's not 17 flags, so is this something that's pointing us towards a timestamp? So I said, well, let's look at this. And we might do some live tonight as we fly through this. But on this one right here, 5:01 my time on Pacific, I'm in Southern California. So that would be 8:01 if we go to East Coast time. And it says AG Sessions, U.S. Cyber Task Force. Important. It's a February 21st one. So again, one of the things that I know that we talk about is these doubts is having context. And I love how Josh hammers that point because it's an important point. But the other thing is, if it was relevant then, and we're trying to find the relevancy now or the context now, well, we know AG Sessions isn't the Attorney General right now, or is he? That's another conversation. But we do know that the Attorney General right now is Pam Bondi. And so I like to look at a lot of these posts that are from Doubts back then that identified titles to see if they have context to something that the current person holding that title may be involved with. And so if we did it that way, it'd be, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and then U.S. Cyber Task Force and important, or something that she's working on that's important. And we're going to get into Bondi later on the show. We're going to get into some Tulsi Gabbard later on the show. There's a lot to cover here. There's only so much that I can fit into the title. But nonetheless, I wanted to show you. We go to the Military Time 2001. I didn't find too much relevance in this one. This comes back to an August 30th date. And to preserve the Republic, some things must remain buried. I mean, that's kind of general, that feeds into the conversation. And if I can get a couple of 5x5s, just because I was dealing with a little audio issue in the studio, and I want to make sure you guys are hearing me solid. And hopefully you are. Let me check the X and the YouTube folks. And also, if you're watching over there on YouTube, super chats and all that stuff is unlocked. If you want to drop something to have me read live during the show, I would appreciate that as well. And if you're on X, you can go subscribe. And I see the 5x5s on YouTube, so we're solid there. And 5x5s coming in on Rumble. All right, good. So audio's solid, and let's push through and get this show continued. Next on, we get Hilla Newer, if I'm saying his name correct, says U.S. Marines secure flag detained by the WHO, the World Health Organization, refused to return the American flag that hung in front of it, saying it has not approved the U.S. withdrawal from the agency. That the U.S. owes them compensation. Good news, the U.S. Marines now have the flag. Now I want you guys to think about this for a second. These clowns were trying to tell us that they don't approve of us wanting to leave the World Health Organization. Like that is the mentality of these globalists and elitists. Now, for those of you who didn't catch the story, and this would have been back, I think, on the 6th, the 5th. This was a couple days ago. If you weren't tracking the story, it came out and said, hey, they're holding the American flag hostage at the WHO. Now, for those of you that don't understand the importance of our flags, especially with respect to our embassies and all that stuff, Marines don't play. Like, we don't care if you want to call it a piece of fabric, you want to call it symbolism. That's not the way we see it. That's the thing that gets laid over the coffins of our brothers and sisters, of our heroes, our vets. And so, long story short to this one, it had a happy ending. The Marines went in, and I don't know the exact details surrounding what they said or did, but nonetheless, U.S. Mission Geneva reports, U.S. UN Geneva and our Marine detachment are in possession of the American flag that hung at the WHO. The flag dedicated to the American lives lost during COVID is on its way back to the U.S. to Secretary Rubio. Promises made, promises kept, and then tagged at Secretary Kennedy and tagged at President Trump himself. So that was pretty moto to get this started. They ain't going to tell us. Another one, we got Ed Martin. Good morning, America. Violence is real and evil. God protect Russ Vought and all Americans. And if you guys didn't know, this lady spit on Ed Martin, and the U.S. Marshals arrest rabid leftists who spat on Ed Martin. And that was about 2-3 days ago as well. So, a lot of these people that have gone away with disrespecting, some of our people in government, for doing the job they do, whether we like them or we don't like them, this is psychotic behavior. There's a judicial process that we'll talk about later, because I know a lot of us are frustrated with it, but nonetheless, there is a judicial process. And this woman being arrested by the marshals is prime time FAFO. And I hope that this continues to get blasted all over social media, so all these clowns know that if you go and you spit on, attorney, or you spit on Ed Martin or the attorney general or the FBI director, or the deputy FBI director, or anybody, that this is what's going to come for you. For those that don't know, if you spit on someone or if you throw water on someone, that is by definition assault. And so she's going to have an assault charge on her record, assuming she doesn't plead it to something lower. After that, we get into this conversation. This one is not something that I'm happy about. This gets into the more dangerous things. And I think I do have the video to play for you on this one. Let me see. I do. Let's take a listen to this. About 30 seconds.
Now to your headlines, starting with Fox News Alert. Secret Service agents arresting an Ohio man for allegedly threatening to shoot and kill Vice President J.D. Vance. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche revealing that while arresting the 33-year-old man, the DOJ found, quote, he was also in possession of child sexual abuse materials. Blanche thanked law enforcement for bringing the suspect to justice. The man is charged with threatening a successor to the presidency. Into an incredible...
Pretty disgusting to have that kind of stuff in his possession. But why did I want to share this story too? And I think a lot of people see social media, see some of these news sound bites, and they don't recognize that the rhetoric that people use, the allegations people use, put people's lives in danger. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be coming at Massie hard later on the show today. So buckle up for that one if you're a Massie simp, including my friends. But when you put out that kind of rhetoric as an allegation, an exaggeration of something, taking something out of context, not providing the full story, this is the crazy shit that's out there. Listen. They know, these congressmen, these news reporters, they understand the level of crazy that's out there because they do deal with it on a more routine basis than the general public. And so they know that these crazies hear what they say. So it's not an accident when you go and you continually say that, that the vice president's a traitor or Trump's a puppet to this regime or this. You are just pushing it and pushing it so somebody reacts and tries to go and do something like this, like take the life of the VP. So anyways, I wanted to make sure we covered that. And there's another one that should be coming up next here as well. Breaking: a student just confessed he helped organize the church protests in advance of Don Lemon. That blows up Lemon's story that he was just there to record. And I do have this.
Also developing this morning, a new federal arrest is drawing attention to what prosecutors say was Don Lemon's role in planning and recording the disturbing protest of demonstrators storming that Minnesota church service. A Temple University student has now surrendered on federal charges, admitting he helped Don Lemon with logistics and local contacts ahead of that anti-ICE protest. Jerome Richardson, a political science senior, turned himself in and is accused of conspiring to interfere with religious worship. Court records and social media posts show Richardson describing himself as assisting Don Lemon in the days leading up to the protest. Lemon, who claims he was just reporting, was arrested last week and released, but prosecutors say this new arrest undercuts that defense, suggesting planning and not just passive coverage.
FO. Lemon's going to bite the... I got to be careful with my words because try to use it against me. But he's definitely going to take it for this one. And it's going to be used against him. And it's good. If you guys... And here's the thing. A lot of people on social media continue to scream, no one's arrested. Nothing's happening. Listen, I get it. Don Lemon's not Hillary Clinton, but you're going to tell me that Don Lemon being arrested that's not a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal. 100% that's a big deal. And you clowns out there that keep trying to minimize this, you're showing yourself, you're proving me right every time you try to minimize something that this administration is doing that's good. And I don't care if you're a friend of mine. If you're a friend of mine, I'm still going to call you out for being retarded, for supporting these people that are trying to subvert our president, trying to subvert this country. And people trying to say that this is not a big deal, it's that. If you yourself are watching this show and have found yourself saying, oh, who cares, they arrested Don Lemon, then you have become a victim of propaganda, because that is very significant that something like that has happened. So let's move on to the next one, because we have another pedophile, or allegedly a pedophile. Breaking: actor Timothy Busfield indicted for child sex abuse charges. Pretty nasty, folks. They haven't given out the specifics on this, but he's looking at 4 counts of child sexual abuse charges. He's an actor. He's had like over 270 acknowledgments to his name. And if you grew up in the 90s or the mid 90s, you know a lot of different shows that he's come out in. So again, is just this, did this actor just happen to get caught and reported, or is what we're witnessing with a lot? Because here's the thing, folks, you guys have seen it. There's a lot of actors and politicians and musicians that are starting to get charged with possession of either child pornographic material, or with actual child sexual abuse or child abuse type of charges. So again, it's just happens to be they're getting caught, or are we seeing these indictments that are being unsealed little by little, having these conversations come to the surface and picking off some of these, he was a director too. He wasn't just an actor, but it is a way catching these guys so that they can snitch and become suspect witnesses. For those that you don't know, in law enforcement, especially larger cases, RICO cases, international crime syndicates and things, gang cases, it's not uncommon to have someone who is a suspect and a witness. So I tend to lean in the direction that I think that's what we are starting to see. And I think we're going to see it kind of accelerate. Next thing we have Svetlana Lokova. If I said her name correctly, she is just awesome on social media with her content. She puts, Captain Mark Kelly is to be demoted and his retirement pay cut. If you guys missed the news that they're coming after him, probably about 2 weeks ago, it is confirmed. He is pissed, and you guys can listen for yourself.
Also have some breaking news coming into the Situation Room right now. Senator Mark Kelly will have his military retirement pay cut by the Pentagon. The Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, made the announcement on social media just a little while ago. Kelly is a retired U.S. Navy captain. He's being punished for taking part in a video where he and other Democratic lawmakers told U.S. service members that it was their duty to refuse illegal orders. Hegseth also added in his post, he issued, and I'm quoting now, a formal letter of censure which outlines the totality of Captain Kelly's reckless misconduct. That's Hegseth's words. Pamela.
All right.
Hey, he had it coming, and if he keeps pushing it, it's going to get worse for him. And I don't feel bad for him. Let's keep firing through this, because I actually want us to not run for 4 or 5 hours tonight. I like to see if we can nail this in 2.5 hours. That's the mission tonight, folks. AF Post reports an Israeli man, Ori Solomon, was arrested by the FBI after it was discovered that while on a visa in the U.S., he operated a biolab tied to the CCP, containing biological weapons such as HIV, tuberculosis, and the deadliest form of malaria. And again, if you guys remember, I kept telling you, we have issues with the CCP. We have issues with the intelligence apparatus, to include the CIA, Mossad, MI6. But we have issues with the CCP. And you have all these people running around, all these chickens with no head, saying, no, CCP good, CCP is nothing to be worried about. The CCP is, they're trying to use that as a distraction. And we'll finish the show out tonight with 2 things that are kind of incredible. And one of them includes the CCP. But I see someone, Desert Jewel 17 says, I want my 3 hours. Y'all, I need to sleep. But we will see. It'll probably lean that way anyways. But I'm shooting for 2.5. Again, this is the stuff that, was this a guy, was this an Israeli man have this biolab with this team out of the CCP? We're talking biological weapons. And listen, and I know there's some people that are like, I've seen some videos out there, and I know the intent is good, with people saying, well, if the whole system being exposed makes it collapse, then that's what it's all about. And it's great because everybody operates off emotions and says, yeah, if the system is if the system's that's corrupt, let's let it collapse. Some of you right now are saying, yeah, Alpha, let it collapse. This is the issue, folks. When you remove emotions and you start to think tactically and like an operator, when the system comes crashing down and it collapses, do you think this guy gets arrested and caught? The answer to that is no. Do you think any of these operatives get caught? The answer to that is no. The deep state, their contingency plan, what a lot of you guys are screaming for because you're so fucking emotional. Forgive my French, but I got to make the point here. You're so fucking emotional because I haven't seen the big arrests that just let the entire system collapse. And through that emotion, you're actually exposing your self-righteousness and your selfishness. Because what you're asking for is the deep state's contingency plan. The contingency plan of the deep state is for us to be like, let's let the system burn itself down, because they're the ones that are positioned to rise in that collapse, not you. Well, you know what, Alpha, 300 plus million Americans, and we got enough guns for 3 to 4 of them. Great. Now tell me which one of those are good and which one of them are bad, because you don't know. The majority of you don't know who's good or who's bad outside of your local environment. Hat tip to why the general has been preaching local, but you don't. And if you witness any color revolution around the rest of the world, when there's a revolution and the people take over, why all of a sudden do they have a working relationship with us and all the other first world nations? If there was a revolution, oh, that's right. Because the deep state that was implanted in those governments already had their operatives planted in what you all think are your grassroots organizations. Do you now realize how fucking complicated this matter is? You know, we joke around about Marines and we chew on crayons, and I mess around with that too. But I will tell you this, and I don't care if people say, "Oh, that's ego and pride." When it comes to strategy, military strategy, and operations, I am fucking brilliant at it. I am, and I can recognize when a deep state has somebody on their side that's brilliant at it. And let me tell you right now, folks, the deep state has brilliant tactical planners. And they know how to capitalize off the emotions of patriots, because we've already shown how easy it is to do to us. The key here, folks, is to navigate these waters, to make these demands, to let our voices be heard, to let our president know the things we're not happy with, but at the same time, do it in a way that we're not allowing our statements to be pulled out of context in order to be weaponized, to be shown as, oh, the president is losing the support of the people. And it's hard, it's complicated. But there is a process. All these people, including some of my friends that have worked in law enforcement at local level, state level, and federal level, then it doesn't take that long to do a federal case. Well, then you're either telling me that you never really handled a big federal case, or you just don't know, because it actually fucking does. It does take a long time to put together a RICO case. It does take a long time to put together a case that's solid, that's not just going to satisfy an arrest, that's not just going to satisfy a search warrant, but that's going to satisfy a conviction. And anybody out here that's just like, I don't know if what you're saying is true, Alpha, I challenge you to do this tonight, or do it tomorrow, or do it while you're watching the show. Use the devil's, Google, or use the devil's AI and say, what is a threshold for an arrest and what is a threshold for a conviction? And see how huge of a gap that is. It's not slight. Research jury instructions. These are the things that have to happen right now. And on top of those things happening, There's new crimes that are being discovered in the cover-up. Everybody agrees. We all agree that there's been cover-ups. You don't think that each incident of a cover-up is its own investigation? Can you understand how fast that can grow? And while you're doing these investigations, hold on, I have my lemon ginger water. My throat's getting dry. I'm getting too amped. It's too early in the show to get amped. I'll taper it down. Gotta get my blood flowing. But, you know, it's not very hard for these things to start spanning, you know, out of control. And while they're doing this, they have to clean their ranks because the DOJ is infiltrated. The FBI is infiltrated. Almost every institution of our government's infiltrated. You guys are like, get amped. Yeah, listen, I'm not a good amped person. You know, I have my moments. I'm not an Alex Jones or one of those guys. Yeah, you guys know me. I'm chillax. I do have my moments, but for the most part, I think I'm pretty chill. So if you ever see me get pissed off, that means you know I'm really pissed off. But anyways, I don't want to beat that down too much. It's just important because it's just what we covered in this initial segment. That alone is important, you know? And I just hope you guys understand that. Patience is a virtue. And patience does lead to success. Patience can also be a crutch and weaponized against us. And the needle lie between those two is very small. But I'm telling you, folks, I imagine if you're here, it's one of two reasons. It's because you trust me, or you're part of the haters that wants to find something you can use against me. Then all the years of doing this, it's just not happening, and you're probably becoming a fan. And that's okay. We welcome prior haters. I should make a shirt too. Prior hater, but now a lover, and we're good with that. So let's carry on, because I'm not going to reach that 2.5 hour mark if I keep on rambling. Rapid Response 47 puts TrumpRx.gov, realfood.gov, safedc.gov, trumpcard.gov. Just a few examples of how, thanks to the ND studio, the Trump administration is revolutionizing how Americans experience their government online. I would tell you, folks, I'm not just reading it to reading it. I'm not just showing it to show it. When you have a chance, go to the website. At a minimum, go to TrumpRx.gov and make sure that your people are aware of these things. You know, give people some hope, especially people that are, you know, inundated with all these different medications that they got to take, and how much of their income is allocated to things they need just to stay alive. Like, that's not fair. It's not right. And it's another thing that Big Pharma has weaponized against us. And these are moves to fix that. You know, we're going to be getting into something with RFK coming up. It might even be the next one. No, not just yet. Clayton Morris reports Bitcoin will drop to 10,000. Let's take a listen to this. And you'll like what I got to say afterwards.
In 2018, I pointed out when Bitcoin was about 10,000, it was going to drop a zero. I was 70% right, 30% wrong, because it went down to 3,000. I'm saying the same thing now. I think it could go back to 10,000. I mean, that includes everything going lower. Unfortunately, means the stock market. It's just normal. The key difference is from back then, there was only a few thousand cryptocurrencies. Now there's multi-millions, and we've had that pile in from ETFs, the Trump administration kicking in and accelerating it, and it's classic peak bull market stuff I remember seeing in 1999. So in the previous segment, Paul mentioned the VIX at 25. You look at that VIX 200-day moving average, it's a bull flag. Right now it's averaging about 19.5. And the key fact is 120-day realized volatility in S&P 500 is around 10%. If we end the year there, not only is it half the VIX, but it'll be the lowest since 2017. So I'm expecting this Bitcoin plunge to trickle down to the stock market, volatility to pick up, maybe just get to its average around 16%, and the whole thing tilts lower into the year end. I don't know what stops it at this point.
Wow. Okay, interesting. Is there a technical support level in Bitcoin that we should keep our eye on? I mean, that $100,000 level kind of held there for a while, but we've obviously down here at 92,000 have blown past that.
Well, that's now key resistance, 100,000. It was my key inflection point starting in 2020 when I was calling for it. Yeah, I was early and I was wrong for a little while, but the key support was right now is around 90. It's stuck between 90 and 100,000. I think eventually it breaks down and heads towards 50. On an annual chart, 50 is normal. The key thing is you get the sharpest rallies in bear markets. The 200-day moving average has rolled over. MicroStrategy's 200-day moving average rolled over in August. And so maybe we'll get a little bounce, maybe get to 100,000, but I think it's all about responsive sellers. And the key thing to point out is the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index, as of yesterday, was down 14% on the year after rallying about a third. If the stock market just follows that, which I think it might, all the dominoes trickle lower. And the key indication for me for all this is gold grabbing alpha this year. And when gold's alpha, something's wrong.
Listen, I hope it drops to 10,000 because I will definitely buy more. I'm being greedy right now. Like, here, let me just go to the next screen. This video is from the 5th, for those of you that are curious about the timestamp. This is where Bitcoin's kind of sitting right now, a little over 70,000 per coin. I'm just like, let's go lower. Let's go lower. You know, I know I do have an unpopular opinion. You know, I have a little bit of Bitcoin and a little bit of XRP. I do think that you should have both. And my XRP family hates when I say that. And then my Bitcoin family hates when I say that. But I'm of the mindset of, listen, ain't none of you guys got a crystal ball. Ain't none of you guys down in the bunkers of NORAD or the Oval Office. So, you know, what's to say both aren't positioned to work? I mean, that's best case scenario, you know, through my lens. But worst case scenario is, I think the argument to be made is one of them's going to work. And so if you own both, well, then it means you're going to be right? Like you're going to get one of them. And so anyways, I'm glad the guy acknowledged that he got it wrong. Not too many people will do that. But what I would say is, don't panic. If you have Bitcoin, you're like, it was sitting pretty, $110,000, sitting pretty at $120,000. And I've lost 30, 40, 50 grand. Relax. When you were sitting at 70 the first time, did you think it was going to go to 100? And it did. You know, of course there's market manipulation. Of course there's people that are dumped, you know, to, you know, take their profits in the system. But me personally, I hope it drops closer to 10 and then it launches. And if Dumpster Fire says, they say the God-given price of XRP is $1 million. I hope so. If XRP hit $1 million, then I can hire a bunch of you that don't have XRP to come into the AlphaWarrior family, and I could actually run a full production team. And that would be freaking nice. Let's keep going. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says, file this under long overdue. The Department of War is formally ending all professional military education fellowships and certificate programs with Harvard University. Harvard is woke. The War Department is not. This is a big deal, folks. You guys know about what we talk about, especially if you watch Operation Gladio, whether we're talking about Harvard or Columbia or just you name these institutions, Yale. Like, we know some of the people that come out of these institutions. We know the ties to the intelligence agencies. We know the ties to the Operation Gladio. We understand that. And so, again, when people say nothing's happening, if you truly think, I mean, if you guys really think that the Secretary of War is saying, we've ended our relationship with Harvard because it's woke and we're not. If you think that's the fucking reason, you have not been paying attention to anything that I've been saying at all. That is 100% what we call a cover story. They're creating the separation because of what's in that institution at Harvard. And I think you're going to see a chain reaction of this among some of these other universities. Like I said, Columbia and Yale and the list goes on. This is them acknowledging that, yeah, we know what you guys are talking about and we're making these moves. Big deal. Next, the White House. To be a great nation, you have to have religion. You have to have faith. You have to have God. President Donald J. Trump. Let me say that one more time. To be a great nation, you have to have God. President Donald J. Trump. You know, so many of you, including some of my friends, some people that I like, you're getting so caught up in the emotions of social media. Alpha, why I keep saying emotions? Because I want you to recognize it. You can point fingers at people all day, but you got to recognize it in yourself. You know, as I work to prep these shows for you guys, I'm listening to the tunnels on these different social media programs, you know, where, you know, I'm in there as an anonymous listener. And I hear how some of you guys are emotionally vested in some things. How you hear a certain conversation that starts trending and you hit your wagon to that. Well, you know, God needs to be first. Well, you have a president that's telling you to be a great nation, you have to have God. And for those of you that have been following, May 17th of this year, 2026, Trump's announced that he's going to be rededicating America to God. I mean, if that was the only thing he did in 2026, if that was the only thing he did in his presidency, how big of a deal is that? That's huge. But you're going to tell me that nothing's happening? If you're someone, and I want you to be honest with yourself, if you're somebody who subscribes to the idea of God, whether you consider yourself a spiritual person or whether you consider yourself a religious person or whether you just consider yourself someone that just believes in God and that God is, you know, the have all end all of everything, the most important variable that exists in any aspect of our life, because I agree with that. And you have the president of the United States, arguably the most powerful man in the world. And he's telling you that on May 17th of 2026, we're going to formally rededicate the United States of America to God. How can you sit there and say nothing's happening? Like, as a spiritual person, like that makes zero sense to me. Unless you want to push an agenda. Then it does make sense. Think about it. Let's keep pushing on. United States Space Force. This one was cool. I might bring this up with Josh on either DEF CON tomorrow night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Badlands. Make sure you catch it. Or if we don't get to it on DEF CON, we might cover it on Overwatch and the Guardian new show. We did the episode 0, the premiere, this past Thursday. A lot of positive feedback. You guys got to watch it here on my channel or on Josh's. So if we don't cover it on DEF CON, we'll cover it definitely on that one of the two shows. We'll definitely cover it. So make sure you're there for both. But what caught my attention here is United States Space Force. Every delta is vital to our success. Check out this engaging infographic that showcases the connections within Combat Forces Command. And of course, let me bring it up so you guys can see it a little bit bigger here. You got, you know, Mission Delta 2, Mission Delta 3, and it goes on. You got 4. 5's missing. You go to 6. You got 7. You got 8. You got 9. Then we jump over to 31. So very cool. But what caught my attention is it says every delta is vital to our success. And for those of you that follow the boards, you know, the reference to delta is important when we're looking at the deltas to dates. This is telling us every delta is important. Are they merely talking about the mission deltas here? Because to me personally, I think the proper way to word this would have been, and I think you guys will agree with me. If you think I'm reaching, you're not going to hurt my feelings. You can say it in the chat. You can say it in the comments. But I think the proper way to put the message that they said here would have been, every mission is vital to our success. I mean, that's the way they've always said it in the military or law enforcement or anything in general, really. Every mission. But they didn't say mission here. And every one of these deltas starts with mission first. Like it really would have made sense to put every mission or do the whole thing, every mission delta. But they didn't. They chose the second word. And I think that this was actually some wordplay and a hat tip at digital soldiers and anons saying, hey, pay attention to the deltas. The ones coming up are going to be important. Now, granted, there's a lot of numbers here with these different deltas they chose, why they choose these, why they didn't choose others. There's a lot of homework that goes into this. And like I said, we'll probably cover some of that. Let me tell you how I got here. If you go down here to the bottom corner on the right, actually, let me let's change how you guys see this real quick because I want you guys to be able to. That little QR box right there. I'll leave it like that for a second so you guys can screenshot it and then use it. And when you screenshot it, it'll take you to this website. And the website here is ussf-cfc.spaceforce.mil. And you guys can do a lot of digging in here. So wanted to present that to you guys. But again, I think that was more of a calm towards deltas. Just my 2 cents. And then this photo keeps coming up. This time they modified it a little bit. Let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can see it. Department of War CTO puts enemies of America have been put on notice. And again, there's the picture of Trump on top of the White House. And they photoshopped some drones into it. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they had them go up there and got some drones again. Then they are the Department of War Adversary Research and Engineering. And I got bit by a mosquito, but I killed him. So, got me, folks. When in freaking Gates mosquitoes got me, but I got him too. So, that's the last time he got me. Got me right in the dang arm. All day today, I've been fine. Freaking Gates and Fauci trying to take me out, folks. If I start tripping on the screen, that's the motive. That's who you got to go after. All right. But again, this one's pretty cool. Let's check to see if there's a Q references. So this is 10:02 a.m. So let's do this. Let's check this out real time. I know you guys have fun. So 10:02 a.m. would be 11:12 102. So let's look at 102. It looks like we got a grid coordinate, November 5th, UDT green, Godspeed. Let's do 1302 for military time. That gives us 1302, April 30th, anonymous, U.S. Central Command, during the day and into the night. Well, maybe here, and I'll tell you why. Let me see. Let's click this image. During the day and into the night, exercise, Eager Line 18, Jordanian Marines and U.S. Marines conduct live fire training to rehearse operating coalition environment. Maybe there's something there on that one. And the reason being, I don't want to spoil it. I hinted at it on a show that I did with CanCon. Yeah, I think it was Daily. I think it was on Daily. And it's regarding a post from Tulsi Gabbard. And this makes me think that. So if you stick around to the end of the show tonight, you will definitely catch that. Let's see. Lisa Urkel 61 says, Alpha, gotta watch Amanda Grace Tonight show regarding May 17, 2026. Important reason why something happened. Side came on tonight as an emergency tonight. She doesn't come on till Thursdays. Drop the link in the comments. It'll disappear from the live chat. It'll be too hard for me to find. But if you want to drop that link in the comments, I can watch it tomorrow while I'm working on edits. But this might be something. So we're taking that from this one. So we got drones. Enemies of America have been put on notice. And then we have this, U.S. Central Command. Jordanian Marines, U.S. Marines. All right. To be determined. Gonna come back to that one. Not today, but definitely going to come back to that one. Now, as we get ready to get into the themes of tonight, this one's pretty funny. So the White House puts out our fight song, and then the White House throws out, if you know, you know. Now, this, I think they're clowning some of the people who are anti-Q and anti-anons, because including some of my friends, you know, they don't like the if you know, you know. And granted, I think it does get abused, and I will agree with that. I think a lot of people use the, you know, if you know, you know, as a way of covering for the fact that they don't fucking know. So they just put that, right? If you know, you know. And then you ask, well, what's it mean? Well, yeah, just research, bro. It's just like, you don't know, do you? So, you know, there's that. But I also think that this is, you know, the White House and Trump trolling. And so let me play the song for the White House. It's about 38 seconds. And if you don't know, I'm going to tell you what they're doing, because this is a major troll right here.
I might only have one match,
but I can make an explosion.
This is our fight song. Hey. Take back my life song. Prove we're alright song. Hey. My gun was turned on, starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. So still got the life.
So if you're wondering what the hell are you talking about, and I think, who's that? I think it's Katy Perry, right? Isn't that Katy Perry that's singing? I think I could be wrong. But if you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, this was Hillary Clinton's, this was her rally song. This was a song that got played through her entire administration. That this, you know, she was going to play it when she won, when she was going to announce the winner. Like, this was 100% Trump in the White House trolling Hillary. Why? Because her and Bill are going to be testifying. We're going to cover that towards the end of the night. But just to show you guys, so if you don't know, this was a great video that somebody made. So let me play it for you. And it's 1 minute, 7 seconds.
Like a small boat,
where a father can tell his daughter, yes, you can be anything you want to be, even President of the United States. Thank you all. God bless you, and may God bless America.
but I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say were wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream loud tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. 'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me.
Wrong.
Wrong. It's going to get so much worse. And I was wrong. It wasn't Katy Perry. It wasn't Pink. I think Cassie Rack got it right. It was Rachel Lewis. You are right. It is Rachel Lewis that sings that song. But again, this shows the White House trolling. And why are they trolling? Is it because they know what's coming down the pipeline with Hillary? I mean, I think so. I think it's freaking, I think it's phenomenal. Let's keep going. Breaking: RFK Jr. drops bombshell on schizophrenia. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just stated that Dr. Chris Palmer, Harvard psychiatrist, has successfully cured schizophrenia in patients using the ketogenic diet. Eating healthy foods works for the brain. I mean, take a listen, folks. This is amazing.
Dr. Pollan up at Harvard has cured schizophrenia using keto diets. There are studies right now that I saw 2 days ago where people lose their bipolar diagnosis by changing their diet. It's not only affecting our physical health, it's affecting our mental health as well. And we're asking people now, eat real food, right? Eat protein.
I saw one of these jacked up says that I got bit by one of the mosquitoes that's gonna make me allergic to meat. Ain't gonna happen. I'll keep eating it. It's just, there's no way I'm not having me a steak or some tri-tip. Hell no, it ain't happening. But again, folks, some of you got some schizo husbands or wives. You're gonna be trying to get them on keto, not even tell them why. I ain't mad at you. But here's the thing, man. The diet, not just physical health, but mental health. And there's a lot of conversations that happen on social media where people have dove into the studies and the research and the science behind this stuff that is open source. It's just so buried. And then when people do try to get it out, it's so censored that it seems so shocking, what RFK Jr. is dropping here, but it's legit, and I add on top of this, when we start to have food that doesn't have preservatives in it, doesn't have poisons and steroids and whatever else they're putting in the damn food supply, like damn mosquito that just got me a few minutes ago. Shit, sucks. Gonna give me nightmares. Whoever brought up that make me allergic to protein. Don't be putting that juju on me. All right, Ricky Bobby. Let's keep going. Breaking. Scott Betts says the IRS is about to hit banks with sweeping audits over their role in Washington and in Minnesota money. Let's go. Throw them in prison. This guy's becoming a crowd favorite.
Civil enforcement is auditing financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds, in addition to helping support criminal and civil enforcement efforts. The IRS will also soon announce the formation of a task force.
Have at it. Listen, you're going to keep the IRS around to go after these people? Have at it. Stop using the IRS to punish Americans and stop taking away our money when you're freaking laundering it, committing fraud, and all the other stuff. So love knowing that Scott is at least doing something right with some of the stuff that he has. But the guy's doing awesome. This next one, take this one as a warning. I'm not playing this video just because this is airing on some different X channels. RT puts Winter Olympics opening ceremony in Milan. So I'll let the video itself play with no audio so you guys can kind of see it. But why did I choose to bring this up? A lot of people were showing some of the clips from the Winter Olympics because of their nods to symbolism that could be looked at as ritualistic. They've been showing some of the Olympic stuff as, kind of exposing, some of the satanic stuff that they have. And what the Winter Olympics has been doing is they've been using copyright violations to come after people on social media and get their TV shows and other things. We're going to be like, hey, since we can't use, we don't control X and we don't control these platforms, let's use these copyright laws to deplatform these people and get them removed so they can't expose our content. So we got to adjust to their moves. And this is something I think we're going to have to figure it out as we go. But in the meantime, be smart so you guys don't lose your accounts because we need everybody in this fight. Now let's move into Savannah Guthrie. This is just weird. I'm not going to play all of her interviews, but I do want to play this one just for those of you that haven't seen it. This is only about 21 seconds. I won't even say. I don't want to make you guys believe what I believe. Let me just play it, and then you can come to your own point.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
It just seems odd. I see Alan there. Alan, not sure if you got here at the start of the show, but I did read your Rumble rant from yesterday, the Middle East in 30 minutes ish with Ghost. So sorry I missed that yesterday, brother. My apologies. But yeah, strange. And so Trump gets questioned about it. MJ Truth Ultra reports update on the Guthrie kidnapping. He says, listen closely. And let me play the audio so you can hear what Trump says, and then I'll read the text that MJ put out there because I think it is important.
promised Savannah Guthrie's family the full support of federal law enforcement. FBI is now.
I'll give you a little statement. I think we're doing very well on that regard. You're probably surprised to hear that. I think we're doing very well. Very well, meaning we have some clues, I think, that are very strong. And I think we could have some answers coming up fairly soon.
Is this a nationwide search? Is this a search going to Mexico?
I'm talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution. We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be
suspect.
Yeah, could be definitive. A lot's taken place in the last couple of hours. A lot of things have happened with regard to that horrible situation in the last couple of hours.
So let's recap in case you missed it or in case the audio didn't come too clear. What MJ puts, he puts update Guthrie kidnapping or Guthrie kidnapping. Listen closely. Trump says, quote, "We're doing very well on the investigation and has some clues we think are very strong," end of quote. When asked about a search, he said, he being Trump, quote, "I'm not talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution. We have some things I think will come out reasonably soon from the DOJ, FBI that could be definitive," end of quote. And I agree with MJ on this. He knows something. There's something here. It's very interesting. He says, "I'm not talking about the search. I'm talking about a solution." And you know, when I put on my old detective hat to be like, what the heck is the president? He has a solution. Well, one, law enforcement is going to be the one, you know, that will have a solution. That the solution is you recover the body, or the solution is that you've apprehended the suspect and rescued the victim, or a solution is you've apprehended the suspect and then the suspect tells you the location of the body because they're deceased. But the way he goes on with this conversation, you know, some things are going to come out that could be definitive. It just doesn't meet the mold of something you would typically hear in a regular investigation. And maybe that's by design. But I wanted to bring up this New York Post article on this and read to you some parts that I've highlighted. They're only like two. It comes from Alex Oliveira, published today. It says Nancy Guthrie's final ransom deadline passes as stricken daughter Savannah notes hour of desperation. And so when we go to the first highlight, it says the Bitcoin account given by the kidnappers showed zero balance and zero transactions. And I still believe that you can absolutely trace these accounts. And I actually think when you look back at the inception of Bitcoin, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of, you know, mafia leaders and cartel leaders that had never gotten caught before when money laundering used to be done through artwork and other avenues. And then not very, very short after the inception of Bitcoin going mainstream in the dark channels, we started to take these people down. And that's why I've always kind of been like, maybe the CIA does have some involvement with Bitcoin. And that's why a lot of my Bitcoin fam gets mad at me. But I mean, you can't ignore that, right? But anyways, I just find that interesting here. But let's just keep going and get to the other part that I highlighted. The FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department still haven't verified whether the ransom note is authentic or the work of scammers. But with no other known leads to go on, Guthrie's family and the cops have treated it as the real deal, which I agree on. But by this point, you know, this many days, a week into this, I'm telling you folks, you should have known if this was a legit ransom note or not. It makes zero sense that the first 48 hours, maybe even after 3 days, maybe not knowing. And even then I would say highly, highly unlikely that you can authenticate it. You can authenticate this thing within 24, 48 hours. So we're a week into this evolution and they're saying that they still haven't been able to authenticate it. I'm not buying that shit for 1 second. I think they've absolutely have either authenticated it or they've discredited it. And I'm leaning towards the idea of they've probably discredited it. I think that was one more highlight. Here you go. You have to allow for the possibility that this was something more or something other than a kidnapping. And this was that statement came from former FBI Assistant Director Chris Swecker in a statement that he gave Fox. And again, what he says is you have to allow for the possibility that this is something more or something other than a kidnapping, which is what this sounds like. Now, why is this all kind of interesting with this? And this part, it gets weirder, folks. I promise. Toria Brooke puts, people are pointing out that Savannah Guthrie's plea for her abducted mom, Nancy, eerily imitates the exact line from Silence of the Lambs when the senator releases a plea for her daughter. So let's hear it for ourselves.
She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
Catherine is very gentle and kind. Talk to her and you'll see.
Talk to her and you'll see.
She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
Catherine is very gentle and kind. Talk to her and you'll see.
Talk to her and you'll see.
She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
So I think you guys get the point on that one. And if shit wasn't already weird with this, a lot of you probably don't remember who Savannah is. If you're from the Q community and you've been around for a minute, you absolutely remember. Toria Brooks says, once upon a time on October 15th, 2020, Savannah Guthrie relentlessly pressed President Trump to disavow Q. This was an extremely important conversation because the one thing here, let me play it. I don't want to get ahead for those of you that haven't seen it. Listen to this, and then I'll tell you, you'll probably catch it, but I'll tell you one of the most important things Trump didn't say.
All right, while we're denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is a satanic cult run by the deep
state.
state.
The subject. I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by Republicans.
Republican Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts, and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories.
He may be
Why not
right.
just say it's
Can I be
crazy
honest?
and not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me
tell
ask you
all
another
about
thing.
it. Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy. I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more in this vein.
Let me just tell you, what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia. And I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree with it.
But there's not a
very strongly.
satanic pedophile
I have
cult
no
they run
idea.
by.
I know
You
nothing
don't
about
know
that.
that? Okay.
No, I don't know
You
that.
just
and
this
neither
week.
do you know that.
Okay.
Okay. So hear me out, folks. All right. I'm gonna stretch a theory here. And and I know that. But just hear me out. If her mom is missing, I pray for her mom's safety. And you know, family member being, you know, going missing is something that's, I mean, that's probably one of the scariest things that you can experience. And I am not trying to make light of that. You know, I would say first and foremost, if it is legit, I pray that she's returned home safely. What I'm saying is just given the history of what we've been exposed to through propaganda and false stories, it is hard for me to believe the narrative of her mother's kidnapping. So that said, in the pursuit of looking for the truth, you have to develop theories on what could possibly have happened. And I think this conversation is one of the theories that I have. Savannah is the one that had this conversation with President Trump about Q. So it was zero doubts that if this event was orchestrated, good guys or bad guys, that this conversation was going to resurface the moment President Trump said, I reached out to her and had a phone call with her being Savannah, because that's what he did. I believe the same day or the next day after her reported kidnapping. The second he made that statement, and the second that it was public knowledge that her mom was missing and kidnapped, this interview clip was always going to surface. Always. It was just a matter of when and what was going to be the conversation surrounding it once it did surface. Now, why is the conversation here important? Because what are we talking about? Epstein files, right? It's the overwhelming content that everyone's talking about, from mainstream media to alt media to just the individual local small town folk, right? Everybody's talking Epstein. And when she says, okay, let's move on to the next one, Trump pauses her. He markers something he all wants us to hear and remember. He says, you asked me about the Nazis or the white supremacists, and I denounced them. You asked me about this, and I denounced them. He names all the things that she asked about, and he goes, and I denounced them. I denounced them. I denounced them. So he's making it very clear to us, the viewer, that he's saying, listen, all the things she asked me for, I denounce. She asked me to denounce Q, and I didn't. Or QAnon, right? And for the sake of argument, I get it. You don't have to blow up my feet. Oh, there's no such thing as QAnon. I get it. But they've adopted that verbiage, so it exists now, right? And for, just so people can understand the conversation, when she tells him to disavow QAnon, he refuses to do it. And on top of that, he doubles down, and then he says, what I do know about them is that they're against pedophilia, which is the headline news of everything right now, because all things are Epstein. And it just happens to be that this conversation comes up because her mom is missing? Or is it coming up because now that this is something that people, because you got to remember, the left and the anti-Trump, anti-MAGA are the crowd that are predominantly pushing this narrative of Trump's trying to hide Epstein, right? That Trump's trying to cover for his elite pedophile friends. Like, that's the narrative, right? You got clowns like Massie pushing that bullshit, him and Rokana. And now, so when this conversation surfaces and they be like, oh, that's right, these QAnon people, that the conversation at Pizzagate, and oh yeah, and that conversation of frazzle rip or drip, depending on how you say it. I'm telling you, folks, they are resurfacing these conversations, not for you and me, but for them. And this goes into, a short article that I dropped that we'll reference a little bit later in the show. I think this was absolutely strategic. 'Cause remember, what did Trump say? Not talking about a search, talking about a solution. He may not have been even talking about her mom. He may have been talking about this is the solution to get people to start recognizing what's going on and to make Q somewhat mainstream again. We will see. And like I said, I know that's a little bit of a stretch, but something tells me that somewhere along that I'm probably gonna definitely hit paper with that round. Just saying. Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter put frizzled. So tell me, let's address this tonight. Is it frazzle drip, or is it frazzled rip? Because I've said it one way and everybody gets mad. I said the other way and the other half gets mad. So somebody in the chat, or you can do it through Rumble Rant. I won't complain if you want to do it through Rumble Rant. Someone let us know what is the correct way to facilitate that. And if you're unaware of what frazzle rip is, this goes into the Hillary Clinton with Huma Abedin And it goes into one of the darkest rabbit holes. And so I see Eyes of a Lady put frazzled drip. No, I get the spelling of it. It's just, yeah, everybody's putting drip. Yeah, I agree. Frazzled drip. See, that's how I used to say it. And then people got all pissy. You don't know what you're talking about. It's frazzled rip. And I'm just like, well, Jesus. I spelled it right? Doesn't that count for something? But yeah, I would definitely say if you've never been down that rabbit hole, you know what? Me and Josh should probably do a show on that. Maybe we can do that on Overwatch and The Guardian. That's a dark one, though, folks. That's a dark one. And it ties into so many things with Tom Hanks, Wilson, the ball. That goes down the, Ellen DeGeneres and the poker cards in her sweater. Like, it's a wild rabbit hole. I'm not going to go on a tangent here, but that's a wild one. Anyways, wanted to share that. Then it comes, brother over there, Jordan Sather drops this. He says, is it weird how recently Sean Ryan is doing multiple podcasts with Democrat senators and doing out all over social media? And I have noticed this, not specifically with Sean, because I wasn't looking to him to see if that was a point, but I have noticed that a lot of content creators, larger content creators, are completely dooming out, from medium level to large ones. And so I was just like, you know what, this is a longer clip, but I want to play it and see if you guys get this takeaway from that too. Is Sean still CIA? Let's see what you guys think.
Man, it's been a hell of a week already. I haven't even got to talk about this yet, but because all the other stuff that's been going on, but man, this Epstein file stuff. Whoa. Is it even real? Unfortunately, probably so, and that's why we continue to fight to get the rest of this stuff out. But man, the stuff that's out, I mean, so many powerful people that maybe some of us respected. And then a lot of people that I think all of us knew were evil, disgusting human beings. But there were a lot of surprises in there, and it was a lot more horrific than I think any of us could have imagined. And what does it all mean? What is it proven? I don't know. I don't even know what's real yet, because it's so bad. It's so disgusting. It's just so appalling, out of this world, that and it's everywhere. It's everywhere you look. Everybody's talking about it. It's all over the internet. I mean, and that's more specifically what I'm talking about, is all over the internet. I mean, it almost makes you wonder if it's some type of a algorithm cage. I'm talking about myself, actually. At first, I was like, am I in some type of an algorithm cage? Am I the only one being fed this? Or me and my team the only ones being fed this? Because it makes you wonder if you're getting tricked into calling out false accusations that maybe nobody else saw, because they can do that shit. They can trap you in an algorithm cage and feed you what they want and everybody around you. Now, I don't think that's what's happening. I'm just saying it's a possibility, because it would discredit you. I think it's all real. I think we all knew it was going to be horrific, and we don't even know the half of it, but it is worse than we were all expecting. But I'll tell you one thing that it has proved. Watching the administration dodge it and try to hurry it up and move along. I just saw today they don't think the American people should be talking about this anymore. Well, I got news for you. The American people are the ones that voted you in. We're the ones that voted you in, and we told you what we wanted before your ass got in there. And you're not doing it. None of these people that we elected. It's pathetic. And so what it shows is a two-tier justice system, just like we all suspected and we've been talking about for years. The two-tier justice system. Why would you not investigate every single son of a bitch that went to that island? Doesn't mean they're all guilty. Doesn't mean that at all. but it at least calls for some type of investigation, not just sweeping the shit under the rug like they always do, and they always have done. They bat this shit around. They get people all fired up. And then there's no justice. None. I'll tell you what, though. There sure as hell would be if it would have been me and you. But nope. The political elites answer to no one. No one. That's how it goes. That's how it's been for a long, long time. Unbelievable. You know, I don't even see right or left, Republican, Democrat, black, white. I don't see any of that shit anymore. I see good and I see a whole lot of evil. And those are the two categories that we need to be concerned about. Good and evil. That doesn't mean you hate everybody that you disagree with. That doesn't, it's good and evil. So anyways, there's a lot to uncover. There's a lot to talk about. And Friday, I'm having Ro Khanna back on to dig back into the Epstein files, what this means, what we can expect in the future. And it will also be the first episode that we stream live. And we're going to do it on Patreon. Be Friday, 8 a.m. I hope to see you there. It's going to be a good talk, an important talk. Cheers.
So here's my question. And I like a lot of the stuff that Sean puts out there. Listen, that's not going to keep me from making my comments the same way he is against this administration. But why doesn't Sean have Ro Khanna come on or Thomas Massie come on and say, hey, let's talk about these photos of Bill Clinton with these victims and these minors? You're sitting here talking about a two-tier system. And you're focusing on names that are still redacted. Granted, we all want to know. But you have a former president who you have the name and you have the photos. And you guys aren't calling for his arrest? Ro Khanna, Massie have not called for the arrest of Bill Clinton or an investigation into him with Epstein. The closest you have, and this was after I was talking shit to him with Massie, with him saying, well, they should look into, they shouldn't be able to ignore subpoenas. Fuck the subpoenas. I get it. That's coming. You have the dude, Bill Clinton, with redacted images of a woman or a girl. Now, we know from the outlines from the redaction that there's only three ways you can redact: a minor, a victim, or ongoing investigation. So we know that that is either a woman's face or a girl's face. It's either a victim or a minor. You have that evidence. So any of you that come out and say, oh, we want justice and for the victims, we're going to tack into that more in depth later on the show. So I'm not going to hammer it all right now. Where's that at? So anyways, just think about that. Now, one thing he said here that I was like, could Sean Ryan be bringing this into the sphere for people to recognize? And I think it is a very good point that he makes, and I do agree with it. The algorithms have been weaponized. You can target people based off of who they watch, who they interact with, and put that content in front of them. You can put enough content in front of someone to make them start forming an opinion about something. That's the way this works. It's psychological warfare. It's information warfare. And so when he says, hey, we got to take pause and we got to look at this and make sure that we're not being manipulated, I actually think that's sound advice for every single one of us. Am I in a algorithm target zone? If you go back and you talk about the very first book, right here, Humanity's Fight Against Globalism, Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, Introduction to 5GW, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn and Boone Cutler. You would learn about targeted audiences and targeted groups. And so when he's saying, hey, you got to take pause here and ask yourself, am I a targeted group or a targeted audience here? And through a series of things and some deductions, you can pinpoint whether you've been targeted. And this goes back to something that I've been saying a lot. You know, I need to put it on a freaking post. Are you using social media or is social media using you? Cal says, Alpha, Sean podcast dropped this morning with Rep. Rokana. I haven't had a chance to watch it. And since Roe is the interview, I wasn't in a rush. I'm with you on that, Kyle. So I'll probably be taking a look at that as well tomorrow. But let's keep going because, like I said, we have a whole segment dedicated to Epstein, so I don't want to hammer it all here. But I did want to cover those points because I think they're important. Real quick, just to fly through this. Sarah Talks put, oh, they are done. TikTok not going to promote Nicki Minaj lyrics, but she is definitely a GOAT and deserves this credit. Great job, Nicki Minaj, especially for the courage I know it took. Gunther Engelman breaking Nicki Minaj's massive shift to MAGA is waking up her fans big time. Barbs are ditching the Democrats left and right, announcing they're going Republican. MAGA is growing. Now, here's the thing, and shout out to some of my friends out there. All right. Internet Jesus, this one's for you, bro. I love you, but you couldn't be further from understanding what's unfolding here, man. And someone's got to love you to tell you the truth. So many people saying, well, go look, listen to her lyrics. They was nasty. They was downtrodden nasty. So, okay, I said it. So, I don't care. We are in to listen. This is for Internet Jesus and all the ones in the back that you are so fucking thick-headed with your virtues that you don't realize they're being weaponized against you. And so I'm going to call it out the way it is. So hopefully I can fucking wake you up. Okay? Because the time of them using our virtues to handcuff us, it is done, folks. Okay, it is done. We're in information warfare. We're in psychological warfare. Do you think that they had Taylor Swift, you know, one of the biggest singers of our time in that genre, and Travis Kelce, fucking hate Kansas City, and I don't like that guy, but one of the biggest players, Hall of Fame tight end, Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champions. You think that that relationship was organic? Two people pushing the COVID vaccinations that happened to come together because of the massive following that they had. Do you think that was organic? Because if you do, you're retarded. No, that was completely orchestrated. I don't care which one of them you want to call as the handler, but it's completely orchestrated. And why? Because of the massive influence they have on their audience to push them to go put a bioweapon into their body. And guess what? It worked. Because that's information warfare, it's psychological warfare. So now you have the good guys that have Nicki Minaj, who has millions and millions and millions of followers, to come out and say, hey, these nasty mofos are eating babies and doing satanic shit. Repeatedly on these messages. And why is that important? Because you just saw in the post with Gunther said, you have millions of people that would have never tuned into my podcast, would have never have given any of my content on any social media platform a second look, or yours or any of us. Because they don't like us. But they like Nicki Minaj. And so when they hear her say something like this, they're like, wait, what? Then crazy ass MAGA people that been talking about Pizzagate? Nicki, girl, you saying that's legit? Nah, she tripping. And she says it again, and she says it again, and she says it again, to where they're like, all right, she ain't tripping. Like, she's pushing this. She believes this. And they love her and they trust her. So then they start to look into it. And then, they Google, man, let me look at this crazy Pizzagate. Oh shit, Liz Crokin. Let me watch this video from Liz Crokin. What's this out of shadows? Oh shit. What's this out of the cabal? Oh shit. What's this with Epstein's Island? Oh snap. Before you know it, they're subscribing to the AlphaWarrior Show. But no, you're hung up on, but she was showing her booty in a G-string, man. Are you retarded? This is a huge influence into that community to get them to recognize what's going on. Because if you got issues with her having her booty in a G-string or the lyrics in her song, it ain't going to matter if we lose this war. Because if we lose this war, that satanic cabal, if you're worried about a G-string or some nasty lyrics, that satanic cabal, that's Girl Scout cookies for what they want for your kids and my kids. They gave us a taste. They didn't let the cat out of the bag during Biden's administration. They gave us a small little sample of what they have planned for us. To pervert our children, to exploit our children, to make laws where grown-ass men can sleep with children, to where men can dress as trannies and go into elementary schools and read books, to where if a parent stands up for their kids' rights, the FBI can call them a domestic terrorist. That's a small sample of what their intentions are. You want to pray? You ain't going to be able to. It'll be outlawed. Churches closed. They closed them during COVID. They showed you the influence and control they have over the religious institutions. So if you want to worry about lyrics and G-strings, wait till we win the fucking war. Then use your virtues to say, hey, if you're going to be this, then, there's this expectation. Now's not the time for that stupid ass fight. Hopefully, I've gone through to you enough to separate yourself from the emotions of virtues to realize, you know what, Alpha's right about his point here. We are in a war. And when you go to war, you're not always fighting shoulder to shoulder with the person next to you that you agree with or you share the same ideologies. I'll land the point here and we'll carry on. One of my partners in law enforcement one time said, he goes, hey, he didn't call me Alpha. We go bar last name. He goes, hey, Luna, what do you think would be a sign of the apocalypse? It was one of those late night conversations. For those of you that are cops, when we got our police cars parked next to each other, one of us got a copy, another one's got a Slurpee. And he's just like, hey, he goes, Luna, what do you think? What do you think a sign of the apocalypse would be? And this is what I said. This was probably around, I don't know, maybe back in like 2014, 2013, probably even earlier than that. I said, when we're fighting side by side with gangsters and outlaw motorcycle gangs, that's a sign of the apocalypse. He's like, what? I said, when we're fighting shoulder to shoulder with the guys that we arrest, then we're probably in the apocalypse. Well, guess what? That joke back then, we're living that shit now, folks. Stop acting like pansies. Stop acting like those people in church that are like, oh my God, she showed up with low-rise jeans. She's still going to hear the word of God. Oh my God, they're baby crying. They should go in the cry room. That baby, God has told us, is the greatest gift of his congregation. Some of you, man, some of you are acting fools right now. Also, don't yell at your audience. You're going to lose audience members. Probably. But the real ones will stick around. Because I expect you guys to be honest with me. And I will always be honest with you guys. CSUSB GeoCam1 says, Luna means moon. Alpha has a great last name. Thank you. It does mean moon. And I appreciate that. So let's push on. I think I made my point there. And again, just to give you a taste of what Nikki put out there, let me zoom in, make it a little easier for you guys to see this. And shout out on Rumble. You guys got us over 1,200 people watching live. And we're approaching that 2,000 mark on the other platform. So you guys always make it happen, man. you guys are a great audience because I know I do talk shit. Like, so, but it comes from a place of passion and honesty, and I hope you guys recognize that. So Nikki puts, as they do their ritual tonight, God Almighty will reveal himself to them. The ritual will backfire on them. God will not be mocked. Blessed is the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Every tongue that rises up against me in judgment shall be condemned and put to shame. Watch. Listen, whether she means it and sincere or whether she's playing a role, I don't care. 10 million people. You see the number right there? 10.3 million people read the words, blessed is the mighty name of Jesus Christ. And you all still want to cry. Because there's pictures of Nicki Minaj's booty in a G-string. Some of you just don't get it, man. So let's get into one more before we get into the theme. This was the video that we showed tonight. Again, shout out Anon55. What a great freaking solid work by this Anon right here. Trump posting my video says a lot. I'm going to break it down for all the Q haters. First thing I'll point out is my name. Trump could have downloaded the original, but he downloaded mine instead. Trump also left my outro in the video instead of trimming it. I double checked and I didn't post that video on Truth. The video was saved from X and posted on Truth. It would have been just as easy for Trump to find the original, download it, and post it. He chose my video over the original. When you look at my name in the outro, it's obvious that Trump picked my video as a hat tip to Anons and confirmation that Q is the real deal. All you Q haters are just that, haters. It's time to stop attacking us and focus on the enemy. It's also time for people to stop listening to people saying that they are Q or know who Q is. None of them are Q, started Q, or know who Q is. I am telling you that as an OG. Where we go one, we go all. Agree with that? I think consensus will agree that Q plus is Trump. I think we all agree on that. But I agree. We have speculations, but nobody knows. Anyways, great work on that video. And probably end up closing it out with that. So with that, I know I already pissed some people off. And we're going to get into another heated part, folks. Body, soul, mind in the chat says, boom, with Q's instead of O's. If you guys can do me a solid, if you haven't done so already, like, share, and subscribe to the content. If you're watching over there on X, subscriptions are $3. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to drop a super chat, I would definitely appreciate that. If you're watching on Rumble, and you're following this content and you like it, I'll tell you what, if you're in a position to, if you're not, don't ever do it, because I understand what times are when they're hard. But this is my monetary plug, right? Because I gotta keep this show going. If you're watching on Rumble or one of these platforms and you're in a position to spare a couple bucks, and you go to that Rumble button and you want to hit subscribe, right there in the live chat, it's that big red one says subscribe. If you guys can do that, that is awesome. $5 a month, by a lot of people goes a long way. And like I said, I will never sell the rights to my show. There have been offers made, very tempting offers, especially at times when I needed it. And I've said, no, I want to maintain and be in complete control of my content. And I'm able to do that through you guys and through your support. So if you're in a position to do so, whether you're watching live or watching the replay, and you can subscribe, it means a lot to me. So that's about it. Because now I feel I'm feeling gross. I feel like please subscribe. God, but do it. Let's get into pissing you guys all off now. After you see the hell, now I'm gonna unsubscribe. This fool done pissed me off because now he's gonna talk shit about Massie just a little bit. I'll say this here, and I don't think he'll mind. Let me share a private conversation that happened while this show was going on. And I don't think he'll mind because it's nothing bad. And this comes from Josh Reed. We'll be doing the show tomorrow. But just to show you guys that we're not echo chambers. And we don't all agree with each other, even though we constantly get accused of that. We don't. He says, and I'm trying to find, he sends me a post that Massie put. And so I responded back with, bro, and DOJ had already fixed that yesterday. He's grandstanding. Sultan's name was already released. Massie is a shitbag. LOL. This is me. So then Josh replies, he goes, LOL, give it time. You'll see what I mean. I said, not with him. He's bad. So then Josh replies, name one bad thing he's done. So I put, says Trump's protecting pedophiles, says Israel controls Trump, calling Trump corrupt, saying that he has 20 names when he didn't, voted against bills targeting the CCP, only passed one bill in his entire career. So then Josh goes, sounds to me he is playing the antagonist. We shall see. And I put, it's possible, with a throwing up emoji. So, and the reason I share that with you is because it is my position. And shout out, Sherry. I'll be reading that at the end of the show too. So thank you very much for that. I want you guys to see that we don't just say these things, that we practice these things ourselves. It's my position that I do think Massie is an operative. That is my position as it stands now. Am I open to the concept that it's kayfabe? So this way he can say things that Trump can't say? Yeah, of course I'm open to that. That can go for MTG. That can go for pretty much anybody. But I like to look at their record of things too to see if it supports that. I see that absent when it comes to Massie. But at the end of the day, I'd rather that be the case and I'm wrong about my position in him, because what matters most is winning the mission, right? Not being like, well, I was right about everything. That's impossible. So if I'm going to be wrong about things, I want to be wrong about some of the things like this, because I think, the being wrong has a bigger net benefit to our mission. So I say that at the beginning just so you guys can know, right? Let's get into it. Project Kamala Harris. Right, you heard that right. Project Kamala Harris. At a GOP event last night, the Kentucky Speaker of the House ripped the mic out of Congressman Thomas Massie's hand. They are so afraid of the Epstein files, they will literally silence your voice. Retweet if you stand with Rep. Thomas Massie against the GOP. Against the GOP. You got Project Kamala Harris that backs Thomas Massie. Now, this isn't something like you're saying because it's Massie. If you go look at my statements over the last couple of years, I've said it all the time. If you find yourself aligning with Pelosi and Schumer and Schiff, you need to take a step back and be like, am I pushing the right narrative here? Did I get sucked up into something? Like you have to be able to consider that. And so again, Project Kamala Harris, right there, backing up Massie. Smash that thumb, hit that heart, folks. Let's keep going. What is she talking about? Loomer Unleashed puts the Kentucky GOP removed Thomas Massie's microphone after he began lying to his constituents at Oldham County Republican Party's Lincoln Day dinner. Massie then spent the rest of the evening drinking at a Mexican restaurant with a few of his supporters. This part right here from Yahoo News. But Massie ended up spending the night in town. He left the dinner soon after his speech ended in solidarity with supporters who exited the event because he'd been cut off. They ended up grabbing drinks at Ernesto's Mexican Cuisine La Grange, the congressman said. And then let's take a listen so you guys can kind of hear for yourselves what happened. I do have this video clip for you guys. Right here.
That's right, Ed Galline took 2 PPP loans, not one, didn't pay either of them back. They didn't know these would be public information. Come up here and hug me. All right, I'm about to finish. Ed Galline never paid back that loan and he took it for bailing hay. Listen, if you want a rubber stamp, you can vote for my opponent. If you want somebody who makes up their own mind and does things for you, the chain of command does not go to the commander-in-chief when you are a congressman. You work not for the Speaker of the House. I work for you.
Welcome to the snake pit, baby. Hell yeah.
So I kind of looked into this to kind of see, because there's a bunch of people putting a bunch of different stories, and it seems like the actual issue here was not the content of what he was saying. It's just he refused to give up the mic past his time. And now, granted, I'm sure they don't like the shit that he's talking about, but the issue is that he refused to give up the mic when he was beyond his time. And so there's that. Let's keep going and see how this Massie situation starts to escalate. Thomas Massie puts, I joined MK Raju on Inside Politics this morning. We discussed the Epstein files release tomorrow. I'll view unredacted files at the DOJ. On Wednesday in Judiciary GOP, I will question AG Pam Bondi. And then I highlighted this next sentence. Why didn't I go on Fox News? Because they are ignoring Epstein files. And so this is almost a 9-minute clip, so I'm not going to play that entire 9-minute clip. Shout out Badass Ballad, became a monthly supporter on Rumble. Thank you. Thank you very much. That monthly supporter helps out way more than you guys will probably ever understand. So thank you very much for that, Badass Bella. I'm sorry, folks. If you're going to say that CNN is a credible institution, more credible than Fox, now granted, I got issues with mainstream media as a whole, but if you're trying to sell to your followers and your constituents to listen to CNN, now I want to remind you guys, Eagle Ed Martin put out, I think it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago, when you guys can go find it on his post, drop it in the chat, or I'll look for, if you guys put in the chat and I see the link, I'll grab it and share it with everybody. He said, anybody telling you that CNN is credible is lying to you. I agree 100%. And so when you have Massie that's painting that picture, I mean, his words, not mine. Why didn't I go on Fox News? Because they are ignoring the Epstein files. So what you're saying is that CNN is accurately and honestly reporting on Epstein. If you listen, if you want to simp for Massie and believe that, that's fine. But I want you to recognize what you're saying in that support. You're saying, I agree with Massie that CNN is accurately, fairly, and truthfully reporting about Epstein. That is what you're saying if you support this rhetoric. Like you don't get to say I support them, but not that. Like that when it comes to the Epstein conversation. Let's keep going because it gets worse. Rubber Duck, this aged well. Why doesn't Massie play this clip on his social media? Why? I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't support his narrative. Take a listen.
Mr. Bradley Edwards, attorney who's represented many of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
And that was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
In 2016, he wrote about Jeffrey Epstein in his book, Filthy Rich, a powerful billionaire, the sex scandal that undid him, and all the money that justice can buy. Apparently, President Trump had some sort of falling out with Epstein.
There were some complaints about Epstein at Mar-a-Lago, and also I spoke to the head of the spa there, and she said that I said, "Did you ever meet Epstein?" She said, "Oh yes." She said he would come and he was inappropriate with some of the younger women there, and she said, "I went to Mr. Trump and Trump threw him out of the club."
So it's your understanding then that President Trump, or at that time Mr. Trump, didn't know what Jeffrey Epstein was up to?
That is correct. Epstein liked stars. I mean, one of the weird ones is Stephen Hawking. He did take Stephen Hawking to his Lolita's Island, which is really odd. But he loaned Clinton his plane at least on 4 occasions, and it was and I'm not just saying this because I know the president, but it had to do with the foundation.
So, one great video post by Rubber Duck there. But here's the thing, folks. If you're saying that Massie doesn't have an agenda and Massie's not attacking Trump, that he's being fair, if Massie was posting these videos, then I would be like, hey, you know what? He's posting both sides of the argument. I don't agree with him on this stuff. I think it's false, but he's posting. But he's not. He's not once posted these things that have been proven as true. Especially with these Epstein files that have come out. We're going to touch on some of the stuff that have absolutely vindicated President Trump, and he doesn't note it. Why? There's only one answer that some of you just refuse to acknowledge because you've fallen into the simp bucket, right? You just don't see it. I'm trying to throw you a lifeline because he has an agenda. You know, how much money has gone from APAC? How much money has gone from the CCP or any other NGOs or shell companies? Well, he votes with the Republicans 91% of the time. Yeah, but how critical is the 9% that he doesn't? I don't care if you're voting with us 91% of the time because we're talking about street names and shit that doesn't matter. If the 9% of the time is because it's critical to help Trump push the agenda that he wants and you don't, then you're a Democrat. It's the same thing MTG say. Why do these people use that as, you know, their defense thing? It's like the racist person that says, you know, I ain't racist. I got a black friend. That's how that shit sounds. You know, I'm not against Trump. I vote with him 91% of the time. It's like, come on, bro. We ain't stupid. Some of us maybe. But let's keep going because we got a lot. And we're doing good on time, though. I think we can fly through some of this stuff. Again, Thomas Massie says, Rokana and I have tried to keep the Epstein files from being political. Okay. The Democrats want to make it about Trump, and the Republicans want to make it about the Clintons. We want to make it about the survivors and getting them justice and transparency. So then why aren't you calling for the arrest of Clinton? One of the guys that has the most visits on the island and the Lolita Express. I mean, can anybody, if you're in the chat and you're a Massie fan, please explain to me why he hasn't called for the arrest of Bill Clinton with regards to Epstein, not the subpoena, but with regards to the photos of Epstein. I want to hear your logic. But I think I do have this clip for you that's like 14 seconds or something, maybe. I might have said, yeah, I do. Here it is.
Rokana and I have tried to keep this from being political. In some respects, we've failed. You know, the Democrats want to make this about Trump, and the Republicans want to make it about the Clintons. I want to make it about the survivors and getting them justice and transparency.
Oh, this show's going to get hotter and hotter. I'm telling you, folks. Colin Rugg says, Justin, the names of at least 6 men were redacted in the Epstein files, according to Rep. Thomas Massie and Rokana. Massie said with a smile that one of the men is pretty high up in a foreign government. They need to do a little more homework. There are 6 men. We went in after 2 hours. There are millions of files. In a couple hours, we found 6 men whose names have been redacted who are implicated in the way that the files are presented. Now, he does say some stuff. I want you guys to hear with your own words here. I don't want anybody to say that I'm taking it out of context, not reading it right. So listen to what he's got to say. This is about 3 minutes. And then I'm going to ask you 2 questions about this that I think are going to make you say, okay.
How much new information then did you see that was unredacted, or did it look pretty similar to what we've seen publicly?
I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to. We want those names published. We're not out to embarrass people. And the problem is we went in there hoping to see that in 302 forms. What we found out is those 302 forms were redacted before they got to the DOJ. But our legislation directs the FBI, which is the agency that produced those 302 forms, to also produce these documents. the Attorney General is ultimately responsible for that production. So that's why we're here at the DOJ to view these files. But there needs to be more information given in those 302s. So I was disappointed we didn't find that. But it's also clear, just sort of as a checking their homework, that they need to do a little more homework. There are 6 men. We went in there for 2 hours. There's millions of files, right? And in a couple of hours, we found 6 men whose names have been redacted who are implicated in the way that the files are presented. And finally, the documents that they put up and decided for one reason or another they had to take back down, I was hoping to see those here. They didn't appear to be in the database that we were able to search. Those ostensibly are wholly redacted files now. We know they exist. They published them for a brief period of time and pulled them back. They need to answer to us as to do they intend to redact those files and put them back up and put them in the database so that we can search them and see if it was appropriate to take them back down from the website.
Are these men U.S. citizens? What fields do they work in? Is it finance? Is it political?
At least one is a U.S. citizen. At least one is a foreigner. And the other 3 or 4 have names. I'm not sure if they're foreign or U.S.
And which field do they work in? Is it finance, banking, political?
One is pretty high up in the foreign government.
And some are, they're, one of the others is a pretty prominent individual. But I think that the point is that these 6 are just what we found in 2 hours of a review of the files that aren't redacted. The broader issue is why so many of the files they're getting are redacted in the first place. And until that becomes unredacted, the main things that they're sending to the career attorneys to review, I don't think we're going to have full compliance with the law or get to the question that most Americans want to know. Who were the rich and powerful people who went to this island? Did they rape underage girls? Did they know that underage girls were being paraded around? And after seeing this, I don't blame the U.S. attorneys, the assistant U.S. attorneys reviewing it. If they're reviewing redacted material, what are they supposed to do? But they're getting, it seems like, material that's already been redacted.
So, you ready for me to point out some hypocrisy that you guys aren't going to like if you're a Massie supporter? He says, I know 6 names. Him and Rokana, both of them. Why aren't they telling you these 6 names? This clip doesn't show it. There's another clip that's a little bit longer that shows it. And Massie says, well, we got to say this, when we go in Congress. Why? Why does he want to wait till they go into Congress to say this? And I'm going to tell you why. Because anything they say, they're then protected by the speech and debate clause. You can't legally hang them out to dry. Can't sue them for defamation. Can't do any of that stuff. Why does that matter? Why doesn't he want to say it out here in the public environment? Because then he's open to defamation. If you're so confident in what you read, why are you worried about defamation? And here's the thing, folks. There are a lot of stuff in these files that is legitimate information. There's a lot of stuff in these files that was phoned in, emailed in, and email or online, claims that were filed that are absolutely next level retarded. Crazy people that were watching podcasters that were just pushing stories for content. And these people are like, I'm going to go report this to the FBI. I heard some information. And they're manipulating the context of this. Massie knows this and Rokana, and they just proved it to you guys. And I don't care how many of you guys get pissed with me. They proved it to you, not me. They did. As a matter of fact, I'm going to find that clip so I can show it on social media. When he says I got to go in and say it before Congress, it's because he's protected by the speech and debate clause. I thought you care about the victims. When you truly care about someone, you don't care about the consequence of the truth. You don't. If I knew, if I was a congressman, I can say this because I've proven it. My track record's proven. Nobody can question, what if I'm going to say what I'm going to do. I I told the most powerful government in the world, go fuck yourself, when they wanted me to plead guilty to something I didn't do. I am proven that I will fight the fight. If I'm a congressman and I go in there and see the names, this is what I'm going to tell them. Here's all the names that I got. I'm giving you guys 24 hours to go out there and give the names. In 24 hours, if you don't get them, I'm going to tell everybody. We'll hold you in contempt. Hold me in contempt. We'll throw you in jail. Throw me in jail. You have an option. Do the right thing or I'm going to do it. You got 24 hours. That's reasonable. And then 24 hours hits. I'm going to go. I'm going to grab some press. I'm going to say, hey, I gave them 24 hours. They didn't want to. These are the threats they made against me. And let me tell you the list of names and the source numbers where you guys can all go and individually research these things and get this information out there. That's really caring about victims. When you're worried about lawsuits, that's not caring about victims. That's caring about you and your pockets. So you guys can get as mad at me as you want. If you want to simp for Massie, he proved it to you that he don't even believe the shit that he's reading. Because if he truly believed it, if he thought unequivocally that it was the truth and that there was no way that that information or the person listening to that information could provide an alibi, provide factual information that it's not true, if he truly believed that that was the case, he would tell you the names. But he's not. Because he doesn't want to get sued for putting out information that's going to be proven wrong or with an alibi. That's what he proved to you guys there, folks. We're not done. Cat Turd puts masshole running to CNN again to whine about Trump. That's a shocker. Massie added, once you pass a certain guardrails, like attacking a man's spouse or getting into racist tropes, I think it's somebody at the White House, maybe Susie Wiles, needs to go to the president and just ask him for his phone and maybe ask him to just show him the tweet before he sends it out, reference to the White House chief of staff. After that video depicting the Obamas was widely denounced, including by some Republicans, the White House took it down. He should apologize. He's gone too far. I mean, he's attacked my wife recently online. I do think there are. You want to attack the president saying that he's protecting pedophiles, and then when he fires one back at you and your wife because she might be a carpet muncher. I don't know. That's the allegations out there. You're going to get butthurt about that? No, bro. It's not the way it works. You sling rocks, rocks get slung back. Thomas Massie puts, from March 2025, who is protected under this transparency task? Presidents, Secretary of State, celebrities? Nothing would have been released if Rep. Rokana and I hadn't forced this. And even now, against the law, they're withholding information to protect predators. He quote posts that from 50 Shades of Way. In March 2025, the FBI discusses internally the clear and specific guidance to redact images of former U.S. presidents, Secretary of State, and other celebrities. And the post reads right here, it's Monday, March 17, 2025. Important, normal, good morning, redacted. Do you know what is the guidance for redacting images, or who would be able to assist with the guidance? B is CSAM, victims, etc. CSAM is child sexually abuse material, or child sexual abuse material, I believe is what it stands for. Please see below for additional details. Thanks, redacted. And then you come down here. Good morning, sir. Bluff IMD RIDS request guidance redacting photographs. Who is protected under this transparency task? As mentioned before, we need guidance to redact 1B items. Something is requesting clear and consistent guidance to process 1B items. There are several boxes that need to process, and the sooner they have clear and consistent guidance, the sooner they will be start processing the items. And the part that Massie highlight, or the poster here highlights, some photographs depict victims, unknown, unidentified females and males, former U.S. presidents, Secretary of State, and other celebrities. The software does not have IA facial recognition to assist with the identification of some of the public officials and celebrities. Now, again, why do I share this post? Because Massie says nothing would have been released if Rep. Rokana and I hadn't forced this. Okay. I'm going to show you how that's not true. But before we get there, I I have a few clips that's going to get us there. I forgot about these. Texas gal, she puts in a response to me. He went over his time. This was going about the clip where they took away his microphone. Texas gal puts, Massie is a wackadoodle. He's got to go. And it's referencing Charles Downs. Thomas Massie co-sponsors bill with AOC and Ilhan Omar to limit Trump's powers. So it's no surprise Massie sounded like the squad on CNN this morning. I'm not going to play this video. We'll pass it because essentially it's 30 seconds of exactly what this guy Charles breaks down. Again, folks, if you're voting with AOC and Ilhan Omar, the script writes itself on that one. You want to support that? The script writes itself. 0 Hour puts, laughing my ass off. He fucking lied to his donors. What are we talking about here? So this Massie posted this morning. I've never said I have 20 names. The survivors have 20 names. I have one and I released it. Some evidence is in the files and more would need to be uncovered through investigations, which the DOJ has yet to undertake. Watch the video. The Golden Age Times posts, it's what the masshole does best. Rep Massie says he has a list of 20 suspected Epstein clients, September 19th, 2025. And every Massie simp on social media was out there saying, including Massie, who went into some of these spaces like the clown Diligent that's out there. Democrat trying to play MAGA. And now you want to say, I never said that? Sorry, bro. It don't work that way. Mags puts, wait, Massel said he never had the names. Yet, this display sure does sound like he does. Huh, interesting.
You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada.
So then we continue on. Fletcher 17 says, y'all better listen to this one. We tried to tell you Trump equals informant. Again, something Massie is not talking about.
Let me go and search Trump. Donald Trump. Witness. It's witness information. Wait, Donald Trump was a witness in this, right? That's what it says. It says witness information. And it says age 70. So this was 9 years ago because he's 79 now. He was an informant? Yes, he was. And this is an open secret. Everybody knows this.
Oh, we ain't done. Here's another one. Massie ain't reporting on.
Epstein believed that Donald Trump went to the Palm Beach police and said, Jeffrey Epstein has young girls at his house, thereby beginning the legal process, which would ultimately bring Jeffrey Epstein down.
Folks, remember Massie said that him and Ro Khanna are the reasons that this stuff got disclosed. Keep that thought in your mind, because as we bring this portion of the Massie segment to an end, I'm going to show you why that is complete bullshit. Toria Brooke puts, in case you missed it, the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform has formally issued subpoenas for testimony from Les Wexner, Darren Indyke, Richard Kahn. These subpoenas were issued because committee members identified them as figures with knowledge relevant to broader investigations into the Epstein network. The date on this is February 7th. Why is Massie coming out and lying to his constituents and saying that the reason we all know about Les Wexner is because he went in and pressured Blanche and those guys last night and today, when we already knew about these names? because he manipulates and takes things out of context. And I'm not a fan of Todd Blanche. Be very clear on that. But Todd Blanche was not lying when he says Les Wexner's name and the Solomon guy, these names are out there. The emails were redacted because we have to redact the emails. But their names were already exposed in other documents. But when Massie comes out and says, oh, look they got it redacted here, he tries to create the illusion of, oh, look, there's a conspiracy, there's a cover up here, not acknowledging that, well, yeah, Les Wexner's name is actually unredacted. You know, Solomon's name is actually unredacted in some of these other forms. Why would you do something like that if you didn't have an agenda? That's deceitful. But yet he did. Let's keep pushing on. So remember when I said that, or when Massie said that him and Rokan are the reasons that the Epstein files got released? I'm going to read something to you guys. This is probably something I've read 2 or 3 times if you've watched the Just Alpha before, and it's important. And shout out, man, over 1,300 people watching live on Rumble. If you guys can do me a solid and hit that thumb while you're here, I would appreciate it. And nearly 2,000 watching on the other platforms. So shout out if you're watching on YouTube or X or Facebook. I really appreciate that, guys. So I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to read to you the date that it was written. Trump's trap, Epstein, fake MAGA, and the unraveling of the deep state. To those still asking, what is Pam Bondi doing? Let me remind you, President Trump has repeatedly made it clear that he is pleased with her. That's not fluff, that's a signal. He's telling Bondi, you have top cover. He's telling us she's executing under my direct authority. He's just recently done that with Tulsi Gabbard and Kristi Noem. Every move is intentional. Many of you are hearing what you want to hear, not what's actually being said. You've forgotten how Trump operates. He's always 10 steps ahead. You laugh at 5D chess while Trump destroys you with it. President Trump didn't just stumble into the Epstein conversation. He orchestrated it. He's forcing the entire world, including those who once denied or ignored it, to talk about Epstein every single day. If he knew fake MAGA, FAGA, would try to hijack the narrative to erode support for him, that's why we told you from day one, Trump would release intelligence and truth on his timeline for maximum strategic impact that doesn't negatively impact the RICO investigation that's in play that you will claim to have always known about in the future too, LOL. The man understands 5DW, RICO, and psychological warfare better than any of his enemies. He ambushed the infiltrators and used Epstein to trap them. Suddenly, names that respectable voices would never utter, Pizzagate, Frazzle Drip, the Clinton Foundation, Huma Abedin, Podesta, are back in the light, front and center. The conspiracy theorists are getting vindicated in real time. But here's the truth that many still don't understand. The blackmail, the leverage, the crimes against children, that's only the surface. What Epstein and his handlers were doing goes beyond that. Me and Josh kind of talked about that with the eugenics and the DNA and all that, crazy nonsense. The science behind what they're doing with those children will be the real horror that breaks the world when it's exposed. To my audience, you have been studying the rabbit holes for years. The ones now pretending that they've always talked about Epstein, they're the frauds. They're virtual signaling liars who never dared the name, the darkness, and the still don't. I'm talking about like the Pizzagate and the Frazzle Drip and stuff like that. But you did. Now Tulsi Gabbard drops the Russia hoax bomb on national television. That wasn't random. It was strategic. The next phase, I got to sneeze. I don't want to blow out the mic. Hold on. Excuse me. I didn't want to blow out your guys' eardrums. Now Tulsi Gabbard drops the Russia hoax bomb on national television. That wasn't random. That was strategic. The next phase is unfolding. The criminal enterprise is being identified. They're setting the stage to prove that it's an ongoing conspiracy. And why does that matter? Because it nukes the statute of limitations lie that they've clung to. Read up on the continuing conspiracy doctrine. The mainstream media, the rebranded alt media, the fake MAGA influencers on social media, they've been working overtime to lie about President Trump and silence you. Now that they see that we were right again, notice the change in their tone, the softening of their rhetoric. They are looking for an out, but we see you. But guess what? The storm is here, and tonight on DEF CON 0, episode number 2, we will go there. tells you how long ago this was. So just to put this in perspective, this was back in July, folks. So remember, you got Massie and Rokana saying this, and this one's from July. There's another one that I have from February, and there's another one that I got, or one from March, another one that's from February. I'm not a fortune teller. We just knew exactly where this was going. We understand the way Trump works just off the history of the way he's done these things with everything else, COVID being one of the prime examples. You guys remember all of the Democrats saying, I'm not taking that jab. You remember Kamala Harris saying, I'm not putting that in my body, which is good. That's what we wanted. And so, again, this had nothing to do with Massie facilitating anything. This was Massie taking the bait that President Trump put out there that a lot of us already knew was unfolding. Trump responds to Democrats accusing him of redacting the files to cover up his name. So just in case y'all thought that maybe I was wrong, listen to Trump.
Says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir? So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given, but it's really a Democrat hoax.
And remember, when he put that Truth Social thing out, what did everybody come out and start screaming? Oh, Trump's calling the Epstein stuff a hoax. He never called the victim stories a hoax. He said the investigation the Democrats ones was a hoax. And there's another short little thread that I'll read you guys later to kind of expand upon that. And the last one, and then we'll bring this portion of the Thomas Massie thing to an end. Reverend Jordan Wells put out there, breaking Epstein survivor Allie Carter. Yes, she's named in the files. Just shut it down. Trump didn't do shit. She was never tortured, abused, or victimized by him. Listen to an actual victim, not the TDS haters pushing fake narratives. Real survivors are speaking. The truth is out. And I have this clip for you guys to listen to for yourself.
I never was tortured by Trump. And if I was, I damn sure don't know about it. But I was never tortured by Trump. That's not the point. But the fact that some of you are mad at me because I won't say that is telling. Why are we just having a conversation just about Trump like he's the only, we said we saw his name and all this stuff. Okay, because if it was, all of it was what it says it was, why wasn't that information out in 2016? When he was running for election, they drug out everything on that man. Why didn't they pull out that ball? But let's just knock politics off the table for a second. If you are just focused on Trump's name, you do not get it. We're talking about children. We're talking about children. Children!
She is not wrong, folks. I mean, it's what a lot of us have been saying. We're going to shift gears here into some other stuff. We're still going to the Epstein because we got some Epstein stuff that's going to come up a little bit later. But this was more so kind of banding the Massie stuff, although he is going to get a shout out a little bit later because he has anchored himself to this conversation with that. But before we do that, let me take this opportunity to pay some bills and do a real quick Rumble ad. Sorry. It's late. I'm tired. You're tired. We're all tired. But we're not too tired to do what? Go get a Rumble wallet, folks. They can freeze your accounts, shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you. They control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. This is real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside the banking system. That's right about down right here if you're watching on Rumble. No permissions, no middleman, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. Thank you guys again. Support the people who support us here on these different platforms. If you're watching other platforms, say, hey, I didn't see a QR code on my screen. It's because you got to watch on Rumble. And it is now in the live chat, or it'll be in the Rumble description if you want to go watch it a little bit later on. Or if you're watching the replay, all that stuff is down in the description. So now let's get back to the show and where we're going. And looking at the screen, I anticipate we're somewhere probably around 35 to maybe 45 minutes is my guesstimation on what we got left in the show. We will see. I'm gonna try to do it faster because I'm tired. It's a midnight 30 here on the West Coast. I sincerely hope, this comes from Pierce Morgan, I sincerely hope President real Donald Trump didn't realize this 60-second clip he posted last night didn't end with vile racist imagery of the Obamas as apes. He should delete it immediately. Now, one, they want to cry about racism when the left was putting images of Trump as Hitler and Nazi stuff. When Snoop Dogg was on a stage firing a gun that said bang at a mannequin that looked like Trump. When Madonna said, I feel like blowing up the White House. When, what's his name from Pirates of the Caribbean? Gosh, what a disappointment. And I forget his real name, but the guy that plays Jack Sparrow. When he says, when was the last time an actor assassinated a president? Oh, so you weren't outraged by that shit? But this is what outrages you? And for the record, is there were other Congress people, or I'm sorry, other people in government that were also of black race that were on different animals. This is the freeze frame that they did it at. I think the shit was hilarious. However, let's keep going to see some of the other people that flipped out. Nancy Pelosi. The overnight post from President of the United States is nothing but vile, racist filth. He should be ashamed of himself if he were capable of shame. Taking it down is not enough. The White House must apologize for this disgusting behavior. You mean like your husband out there doing gay shit and his chonies getting hit in the head with a hammer, and we just want to pretend like there was some nasty debauchery going on? You want to talk about shame? Please. Especially what you do with the money. Then you got John Solomon puts, Trump didn't see the racist truth video and ordered it removal. He got that from a source. Now, I find this interesting because Trump has made the statement that I do post. Now, he didn't say, if correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think he said I do all my posts. So it does open the door. And I would imagine, just based off some of the other people we know and politicians and networking, that, they do have people that do post for them and within reason. But I think this is actually setting up a conversation that's going to come up a little bit later regarding another post that made it to Trump's Truth. Excuse me. From some other people that people wanted to capitalize on a 1 second or 1.5 second thing of it. I think that this is actually setting up a potential later excuse. So this, bookmark that topic that I'm kind of being not so clear about. Just remember this conversation for something that might resurface in a couple days or a couple weeks. InfoWars, coincidence or conspiracy? Brian Kemp appointed 3 people as Superior Court judgeships who all conveniently shut down investigations into the 2020 election. Only one of them had experience as a lawyer. Brian Lubel, my boy CanCon, outlines how these team players got their positions. If you guys missed it, CanCon did some phenomenal work. He has some more phenomenal work that's going to be coming down the pipeline. You guys want to make sure you are absolutely following this guy. Take a listen to this. This is solid.
Some breaking news for you this morning. In my article, I mentioned 2 other I should mention, Vic Reynolds, the then GBI director, ends up going on to be appointed by Brian Kemp to a Superior Court judgeship in Cobb County. And that's important because there's 2 other judges that were in their previous roles involved in this, kind of obfuscation of election investigations. And there was a gentleman named Bob Couvert that did an investigation into the Pro V&V audit that Brad Raffensperger claimed they did following the 2020 election, and found out that no, they actually did not do an audit. They sent, Pro V&V to these 6 counties, and Bob Couvert, through open records request, found that none of those 6 counties had a record that that they did any audit there. And so Couvert took this to the governor. The governor said, well, take this to the inspector general. The inspector general says, we have 28 claims here. I can only investigate 1. I'm going to investigate the claims that this Pro V&V audit didn't take place. So Bob sends him all the documents that he has, and the inspector general ghosts him after that. Then Bob takes it to the district attorney for the Appalachian Circuit, a woman there, and she looks at it and does the same thing, ghosts him. Both of those people would go on to get appointments to the superior courts in Georgia, one being Scott McAfee, the judge that presided over the Trump RICO case. So that's 3 judges that were directly involved, intimately involved in election investigations that got promoted to judgeships afterwards, that were not judges beforehand. In fact, only one was a practicing lawyer. Then I discovered this morning, I got a text message from someone in Voter GA, texted me over and said, hey, you should look into the judge that presided over our case in the appellate courts. And so I did. And there's a judge named Andrew Pinson, who was a Court of Appeals judge in Georgia, and he upheld the lower court standing that Garland Favorito in the Caroline Jeffords case did not have standing. Okay. This would have ultimately get overturned, in the Georgia Supreme Court. But it was Judge Pinson who was part of the appellate court that ruled that Garland Favorito and his group did not have standing to bring the case. He would get promoted to become a Georgia Supreme Court justice after just 1 year on the appellate court, just 1 year. And the kind of the icing on the cake, Brianna, is that when Garland's case went to the Georgia Supreme Court, he had to recuse himself because he had just presided over it, and he had to watch the Georgia Supreme Court overturn his own appellate decision. So, justice right there.
John, you guys, make sure you're following my boy at CanCon, and that's Can with 2 N's in it in the first part of it. And maybe a little birdie mud told me there's going to be some phenomenal work coming from him. So I'm telling you guys, don't miss out. Make sure you're following him. And why am I sharing this part? Like I said, Obama monkeys versus 2020 fraud. This is why they're freaking out, folks. This is why they're trying to do the distractions with focusing on the meme video clip that's out there. And it's because these next series of tabs that I'm going to be talking about are just highlighting what is coming down the pipeline. For everybody that keeps saying, no, nothing's happening, there's all kinds of shit happening. And this 2020 election fraud is huge. And John Solomon's going to do a good job here of kind of breaking down why. Let's get this going for you right here.
We're told by Chris Wray and other officials after the 2020 election, we had a perfect election. There were no major foreign intrusions or foreign attempted intrusions in the 2020 election. I pretty quickly debunked that about a year later when I reported that Iran actually had hacked into a battleground state's registration system and downloaded more than 100,000 identities and was using them. Eventually, 2 guys got indicted in Manhattan. That's a really significant intrusion. That was not what Chris Wray told us. Then we learned from Kash Patel a couple of months ago that China was sending driver's licenses into the United States in 2020 in hopes that they could be used to create fake ballot registrations. That is a second really significant intrusion. Both of those are run contrary to what Chris Wray and other Homeland Security officials gave us as statements during the time. I believe that the President of the United States is soon going to be briefed by Tulsi Gabbard and other intelligence officials based on my reporting about additional intrusions, significant large-scale intrusions into various forms of our election system. Now, I'm not talking about getting a machine and flipping the vote, but maybe getting enough of state voter databases that a foreign power could work with people on the ground in the United States to fill out fake registrations for people who are on dirty voter rolls. Those licenses that were sent into Chicago were going to be used to make absentee ballot applications, according to the FBI predicate. By the way, Chris Wray's FBI didn't look at that. They shut it down. If a foreign power was that far into the election databases of state systems that they could figure out what driver's licenses to send here, the next question becomes, who were they working with on the ground? Who was going to file those ballot requests? I think that's why Tulsi Gabbard was down in Georgia, why you might see her in Arizona, why the FBI will probably be in Arizona, and why the president's about to get a briefing. And all of this new information could have a profound effect on the Save America Act, which is, all right, some people say it feels like we're doing an awful lot. There's not a real problem. These next revelations, if the president were to declassify them after he gets debriefed on them in the next few days, they could educate senators and House members and give them a greater inspiration to maybe go ahead and do the voter ID and the citizenship check. That is a big moment. Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are driving this. It's been below the radar, but they're doing some really big stuff. Now the president's going to find out what it is, and then at that point, the opportunity comes to declassify it. Let's see what it is. There's one other element to this. If government officials lied to us after the 2020 election, there's still an opportunity in some of those cases to pursue criminal cases against them. We'll see where it all comes out, but that's what's going on in the background of the Save America Act debate right now.
John, if you were in studio right now, I would hug you. You just gotta hit rewind. Hit rewind for 1 minute. As you remember,
sure,
better than anybody, we spent, I think, half of 2021 in the great state of Arizona on this issue. And I know the Arizona Patriots. Just give me a 1 minute summary. When you said the word Arizona, and we're already in Georgia, just give me the 1 minute summary of Arizona, because I know there's so many War Room Posse members from the great state of Arizona have been waiting for something to say, hey, what we did, we're not wasting our time. This is actually being reviewed by senior authority. What do you got again?
Yeah. Again, I don't think election machines are flipping ballot counts and things like that. I think that the actual way that the elections were administered were in violation of state law. And this is very important. The laws that the Democratic Party created during the Civil Rights Movement and the Great Voting Rights Act movement of the 1960s, something that all Americans are proud of, they still apply today. And those laws say you must, if you're an election administrator, conduct the election consistent with your state rules so that everybody has equal protection in your state. If Georgia and Arizona didn't do that, if Fulton County and Maricopa County did things that were in violation of state law that created an unfair or unequal election, they can be prosecuted under the Voting Rights Act and other civil liberty laws for that. I think that's where it's going, that you can't just change your state procedures in violation of your law because that's what you want to do during a pandemic. That could create criminal cases against election administrators. And I think that when you look at the search warrant that I got to see from Fulton County this past week, those are the laws that Kash Patel's team cited. State officials not following their law and therefore creating a fraudulent election. That's where those two states are being.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why they're freaking out. And then John Solomon posts as well, these next revelations, if the president were to declassify, they could educate Congress to do voter ID and citizen check. This is where it's at. All this stuff has been a systematic flow of getting us to where we need to be. And don't let people steal your hope that nothing is happening. Things are happening. We got to do our part, but things are happening. And again, this is why they're freaking out. Real Robert puts, this is why, another reason why. The director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, there are still rats in the intelligence community who are protecting Barack Obama. Regarding more classified documents are coming, DNI Gabbard. Excuse me. There's still a lot of people, won't surprise you, within the intelligence community who don't want this information to see the light of day. And I'll let you guys hear it with her words.
You mentioned, Director, that there's, I guess, deep state actors who are still trying to prevent the truth from coming out. What do you mean by that?
There are still people, won't surprise you, within the intelligence community who don't want this information to see the light of day. Some of them may be implicated in the crafting of it. Others are concerned about people being embarrassed. Others are concerned about accountability and what else we will discover as we continue down this path towards the truth and bring about accountability for the American people. That's really what this is all about, and why it does such a disservice. I was standing there in the White House press briefing room and hearing some of these crazy questions being asked by members of the media who are trying to distract and deflect away from the historic expose that we have brought forward that once again puts into question the American people's ability to trust the integrity of our democratic republic. And the reason why that is, and it's similar to the deep state actors who have been trying to stop us from releasing this, is that we have members of the media who were complicit in this from the very beginning, who were leaked early copies of this, or at least lines from this January 2017 Obama manufactured intelligence assessment. They printed what they were fed. People like Ellen Nakashima from the Washington Post, who, by the way, went on to win a Pulitzer Prize because for years she was so good at lying and not telling the truth to the American people that they gave her an award for it. These people are still here. Ellen Nakashima is still harassing people who work within the intelligence community who are calling up and reporting her, using burner phones to try to ask them harassing questions. There are a lot of deep state actors still here within Washington. President Trump wants us to find the truth. I want to find the truth. The American people deserve the truth, and they deserve accountability, which is why I'm really glad to see that Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice announced the creation of a strike force team today, specifically to get after all the intelligence and evidence that we have gathered. We have more coming, and to determine the path forward to bring about that accountability.
Are we forward to hearing?
They are in a panic over what DNI Tulsi Gabbard is working on and what she is uncovering. For everybody that tells you nothing's happening, ask yourself or ask them, then why is the deep state so freaked out about what she's doing right now? If nothing's happening, why are they trying to shut her down? Why are they trying to get ready to impeach her? Why do they want to pull her away from the investigations she's doing if nothing's happening? Like, that's the part that's so important. So let's take a listen to what Bo and reporting here out of Roger Stone.
There is no question whatsoever that the working group in the United States, which appears to be headed by Tulsi Gabbard, has very solid evidence of both Venezuelan and Chinese online interference in our election. I do have to tell you, Eric, there are elements within our own government who don't want that information to come out, don't want it to be reviewed. I suspect it's because there are some in our intelligence agencies who have used this same technology to interfere in foreign elections in the past, and perhaps were involved in the use of it here in the United States. So it is a struggle internally, but the president is very serious about getting to the bottom of it. He's chosen the right person because Tulsi Gabbard demonstrated to us in the Russian collusion hoax, where she finally declassified all the documents, proving that that was the greatest single dirty trick in American political history and probably the largest single abuse of power.
Folks, what you're going to find out, and I've said this, I've been saying this over a few months now, is this is not just one RICO investigation. This was not just Russia. And you know, I told you that there was a RICO case going on. Tulsi ends up coming out and confirming it. And then I told you, hey, there's going to be several others. This is it, folks. This entire thing's going to come full circle. All the retarded clowns that were telling you, oh, Russia hoax is a distraction. Oh, this is a distraction. That's because these people are one of two things, if not both. They're morons that don't understand how all this stuff ties together, or they're people that are trying to push an agenda because they're really trying to subvert America. They don't like America, and they don't like Trump, and they want to see us perish, including you. So they pretend to be MAGA. They pretend to be Republicans, but their ultimate goal is subversion. And you can go study Yuri Bezmenov's ideological subversion to understand how that entire process works. And as you study that and you watch his videos, you're going to be like, holy shit, that's the times that we're living in right now. Yeah, no shit. This is what we're trying to get everybody to recognize. It's that important because it's what you're seeing here. If this is the first time you've ever joined us on this show, you're seeing the establishing for all of us what a criminal enterprise looks like. And then the second portion of that is showing the ongoing crimes of a criminal syndicate. And then the third portion of that is the continuing conspiracy doctrine. This is the thing that breaks the chain of all these people screaming, well, there's statute of limitations, is too late. It doesn't work like that with the criminal enterprise that's doing ongoing criminal activity. That clock doesn't start to tick. And this is what has them so freaking paranoid. And Tulsi comes out and drops a letter right here, or a post, and it's a little lengthy. Not too bad, but it's a little lengthy, but it's important enough to read, because these are her words explaining exactly what's happening. And so with that, I'm going to read this to you guys. I'll make it a little bit bigger too, so my tired eyes can do this a little bit easier. So here we go. Senator Mark Warner and his friends in the propaganda media have repeatedly lied to the American people that I, or the ODNI, hid a whistleblower complaint in a safe for 8 months. This is a blatant lie. The truth. I am not now, nor have I ever been, in possession or control of the whistleblower's complaint, so I obviously could not have hidden it in a safe. Biden-era IC Inspector General Tamara Johnson was in possession of and responsible for securing the complaint for months. The first time I saw the whistleblower complaint was 2 weeks ago, when I had to review it to provide guidance on how it should be securely shared with Congress. As a vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Warner knows very well that whistleblower complaints contain highly classified and compartmented intelligence. Even if they contain baseless allegations like this one, must be secured in a safe, which the Biden-era Inspector General Tamara Johnson did, and her successor, Inspector General Chris Fox, continued to do. After IC Inspector General Fox hand-delivered the complaint to the Gang of Eight, the complaint was returned to a safe where it remains, consistent with any information of such sensitivity. Either Senator Warner knows these facts and is intentionally lying to the American people, or he doesn't have a clue how these things work and is therefore not qualified to be in the U.S. Senate, and certainly not the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Here is a detailed chronology of the situation. June 2025, I became aware that a whistleblower made a complaint against me that, after further investigation, neither Biden-era IC Inspector General Tamara Johnson nor current IC Inspector General Chris Fox found the complaint to be credible. The complaint required special handling and storage in a safe because the complainant chose to include highly sensitive information within the complaint itself, rather than referencing the sensitive reporting and leaving the complaint at a lower level of classification. Security standards for complaints that include such sensitive intelligence required the Inspector General to keep the complaint and the intelligence reference secured in a safe from the time the complaint was made until now. In June 2025, after Biden-era Inspector General Tamara Johnson completed her review of the complaint, no further oversight or investigative activity took place. Biden-era Inspector General Johnson had communicated with me directly throughout the course of her investigation into this complaint. Yet neither she nor anyone from her office informed me that the whistleblower chose to send the complaint to Congress, which would require me to issue security instructions. When a complaint is not found to be credible, there is no timeline under the law for the provision of security guidance. The 21-day requirement that Senator Warner alleges that I did not comply with only applies when a complaint is determined by the Inspector General to be both urgent and apparently credible. That was not the case here. I was made aware of the need to provide security guidance by IC Inspector General Chris Fox on December 4th, 2025, which he detailed in his letter to Congress. I took immediate action to provide the security guidance to the Intelligence Community Inspector General, who then shared the complaint and reference intelligence with relevant members of Congress last week. Senator Warner's decision to spread lies and baseless accusations over the months for political gain undermines our national security and is a disservice to the American people and the intelligence community. And for those referencing the date, that was February 7th is when she did that post. So now you've all heard it or read along with it, the entire thing for your own eyes. The storm has arrived. President Trump just had a huge shout out, or just gave a huge shout out to Tulsi Gabbard and Attorney General Pam Bondi for doing a great job. And this, I do have the clip for you guys. Let me play this for you guys.
We have our Director of National and International Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's doing a great job. Where's Tulsi? She took a lot of heat 2 days ago because she went in at Pam's insistence. She went in and she looked at votes that want to be checked out from Georgia. They say, why is she doing it? Right, Pam? Why is she doing it? Because Pam wanted her to do it. And you know why? Because she's smart. And they said, well, this has to do, her position has to do, it's really not so, but her position has to do with international. I say, well, the same people that said that, they've been saying Russia, Russia, Russia has been screwing our elections, okay? So let's assume Russia had something to do with it. They say, no, Russia didn't have. So now they're saying Russia had nothing to do with it. Because if I say Russia, that it's perfectly fine. But you could add China and about 5 other countries to it. But she's done a great job, and Pam has done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it both. I haven't seen you in a couple of days.
And again, folks, this is why they're coming after these people. It's why they're coming after Eagle Ed Martin. It's why they're coming after Kristi Noem. It's why they're coming after Tulsi. It's why they're coming after Bondi, because they know that these people are restricted to the operational security of the stuff they're working on. And they know that in the inability to answer those questions publicly at this time, that they can create these narratives of cover-ups, of nothing's happening. Oh, here we go again. Why? Because they know that there's a small window of time that they have to subvert the support for each one of these people. And as long as they can get people to turn on them, then that in effect is them turning on President Trump. That's the mission here. The statement, nothing can stop what is coming, they are trying hard, and they're trying to do it through something I haven't said in a couple episodes, probably through despair. Why? Because morale is a weapon. And they understand that. And they're trying to destroy it. Muse dropped a great post here. Sidney Powell quote post. This is absolutely disgusting. FBI Director Cash, you have a lot more firings to do, and this one should be prosecuted. And she's talking about Muse put corruption. FBI Atlanta Chief Paul Brown warned Fulton County elections officials about a coming raid and even shared a list of items agents plan to seize. He was removed just before the warrant was executed. This is a compromise bureau. This is absolutely disgusting. This is something where I agree completely. This needs to be not just be an investigation. This guy needs to be arrested if this is proven to be if this is proven to be true. Then absolutely needs to be arrested. This is treason. That's exactly what it is, treason. So let's kind of shift a little bit here. CIA Director John Ratcliffe posts, all the world can now see the truth. Brennan, Clapper, and Comey manipulated intelligence and silenced career professionals, all to get Trump. Thank you to the career at CIA officers who conducted this review and exposed the facts. Talking about New York Post says Obama Trump Russia collusion report was corrupt from the start. CIA review. Here you got Brennan and Obama. Folks, this shit's about to just the jack-o'-lantern, you know that where that ding 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 or however the damn sound goes. I probably did such a terrible job of that. I'll get away with it because we're all tired. But that thing's that the jack's about to pop out that damn thing and scare the shit out of everybody because it's going to be huge when it happens. Like we're that close. If you guys don't recognize that. Real Robert puts, and this is the director of Central Intelligence Agency, John Ratcliffe. Barack Hussein Obama said, "I want this done." CIA director, and this is the quote from him. All the world can now see the truth. Brennan, Clapper, and Comey manipulated intelligence and silenced career professionals, all to get Trump. Again, another quote. This was Obama, Comey, Clapper, and Brennan deciding we're going to screw Trump. We're going to create this and put imprimatur of the IC assessment in a way that nobody can question it. They stamped it as Russia collusion and then classified it so nobody could see it. Now, listen to that. In a way that nobody can question it. This is the same plays that you see. Let me see. Oh, okay, I just saw the chat. I wanted to make sure that everybody was good to go. I saw somebody say blind. I was like, what? Don't tell me you guys can't see the screen, but we're good. But the same thing, in a way that nobody can question it. It's the same playbook that's being deployed now. This is what I just finished saying about the way they're coming after Noam, the way they're coming after Gabbard, the way they're coming after Bondi. They're doing it in ways that they can't respond to it right now because they know what they're tied into. The comparison would be the Hunter Biden laptop. It's the same people. In the Hunter Biden case, it's we got to lie to win the election. In this case, it is we failed to influence the election, and after we failed, we're going to handicap the president so that we can win the next election by polluting the well. I mean, look at the names that are all tied into this stuff. Obama, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Clinton, Schiff, Susan Rice. It shouldn't be like Susan Rice, McCabe, Peter did Lisa did Peter. That was pretty creative. Rod Rosenstein, Sally Yates, Bruce Hoare, Nellie Hoare. I'm starting to think that these names were purposely misspelled that way. Anyways, touche. Great stuff. I'm trying to fly through it fast, folks. I see how late it is for you guys. It's 6 a.m. in the East Coast. We're almost there. Third co-conspirator in the fatal Benghazi attacks in the U.S. in custody, charged in Washington, D.C. with murder and terrorism counts. You can be assured that no matter how long it takes or where you are located, the FBI remains steadfast in our duty to see justice served against those who harm our citizens. I am grateful to the men and women of the FBI for their unrelenting efforts to bring us to where we stand today. This defendant will be prosecuted on U.S. soil. FBI Director Kash Patel. Listen, you have the Clintons that got to testify at the end of this month. Benghazi's coming back up. We're going to get into Ghislaine Maxwell and her pleading the fifth here in just a few moments. I'm telling you, Clinton, Benghazi, elections, Haiti. Y'all think that it's just a coincidence that they're all coming to an apex together? I don't think so. Josh puts, hey, Alpha, Jeffrey Epstein had not killed himself yet. So this letter circulating right here for immediate release Friday, August 9th. But how can that be if Epstein didn't die until the 10th? And this is referencing Jeffrey Epstein's. So I'll just read it to you guys. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see it a little bit easier. There we go. Statement of Manhattan U.S. Attorney on the death of defendant Jeffrey Epstein. And there's the August 9th in 2019. So y'all don't think that I'm making it up. It's there. You guys can see it. Well, how does this come into play? I'm not going to read this whole entire thing. I'm just going to read parts of it because I said this a very long time ago. Epstein files were compromised to frame the innocent, protect the guilty, but Trump already knew. The Trump card, read carefully. You're not just watching a cover-up. You're watching a counter-op. The deep state cabal spanning the Clinton, Obama, and Biden regimes knew exactly what was coming if Trump became president again. They knew President Trump was coming back in 24. They knew they couldn't rig the election again. They knew the Epstein files would be released under his second term. And they knew that the moment that happened, the global house of cards would collapse. Child trafficking, blackmail, intelligence operations, the entire infrastructure behind the New World Order, gone. So they did what snakes do when cornered. They took a corrupted Epstein investigation and they rewrote it. They destroyed original evidence. They planted new evidence to frame President Trump and other white hats. They weaponized the narrative in advance so that when Trump returned, the evidence would show he was guilty, not the real predators like Podesta, Clinton, Huma, Schiff, Schumer, Obama. But what they didn't expect was Trump already knew. He knew the investigation was tainted. He knew the files were compromised. He knew the deep state had an in-game strategy to flip the narrative against him, so he played his Trump card. Epstein didn't kill himself. He was placed into WITSEC under 18 U.S. Code 3521. That's not a theory. That is a strategic application of federal law. Trump secured Epstein, flipped him as an informant, and moved him into witness protection to preserve the truth. Why? Because Trump didn't need the corrupted evidence. He needed the source. Epstein is the primary witness to the largest RICO investigation ever launched in U.S. history, a sting operation that will dismantle elite trafficking networks, compromised intelligence agencies, globalist money laundering channels, fake NGOs and human rights fronts, high-value political operatives from both parties, and now the enemy is panicking. Enter Ghislaine Maxwell, a deep state asset activated to run interference, the insurance policy. She's now demanding a deal to testify in front of Congress. Why now? Because they know Epstein flipped, and they know her, and they know he is not dead. Sorry. They know the real investigation is closing in. So they sent Ghislaine to corrupt the narrative again, apply pressure to inflame the PSYOP narrative, to implicate Trump and protect the guilty. But notice who she never names. Not Podesta, not Hillary, not Huma, not Adam Schiff, because she's working for them. Remember, President Trump and Matt Gaetz said that they had a secret weapon in Congress and Congress knows it? That's why they're pushing the release. That's why Trump calls this Russia, Russia, Russia hoax all over again, because this is their Hail Mary. They're trying to burn the movement with the final desperate lie, but the trap has already been set. The fake investigation will be exposed, the real one will be revealed, and the RICO takedown will be clean. The psychological battlefield, fake MAGA assets are the real threat. Now pay attention. The deep state knows they can't stop Trump legally, so they're turning to perception warfare. They've deployed infiltrators posing as concerned patriots, truth seekers, or Trump skeptics. Their mission: to sow doubt about Trump motives, to weaponize the Epstein narrative against him, to turn his base against him before the real drop lands. These are not real influencers. These are controlled assets, intelligence-linked accounts, or grifting opportunists. Ask yourself, do they ever amplify Trump's wins? Do they ever highlight his record on trafficking takedowns? Do they ever defend the movement? Or do they only ever attack or sow doubt? They use virtual signaling and selective outrage. They pretend to be red-pilled, but they're just useful idiots, or worse, intentional operatives. Final warning: the cover-up is what gets them caught. The compromised evidence was the setup. The fake Epstein suicide was the misdirect. The action of Ghislaine is the desperation, and the white hat counter RICO is the real plan. The Trump card is already on the table. The greatest sting operation in modern history is unfolding, and you're being told exactly what's happening. If you have the eyes to see it, nothing can stop what is coming. Trump is just exposing them. He's dismantling them piece by piece. And when the real Epstein evidence drops, it won't be a document. It will be a testimony. And this, folks, is from July 15th. Now you're seeing Benny Johnson. You're seeing every large influencer out there on both sides of the argument talking about, well, Epstein's alive. And I just want to remind you guys, and I know people get irritated when I say it, I'm going to say it anyways. Remember who told you first and cited the legal pathway of how that actually is accomplished. And that's 18 USC 3521. One of the major factors in 18 USC 3521 is there's no judicial oversight. The only two people that have to even know that it's happening is the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General. There's not even a legal pathway that says they have to tell the president. There's no oversight to this. And I've talked about it at length on a lot of other podcasts. I'm not going to go into it on this one. I just want to remind you guys of what's really happening. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Jeffrey Epstein were in business together. Epstein Files show. Sean Ryan puts, wow, it's all of them. Well, tell us some stuff about the CIA, Sean. Non-55 comes and drops this little gem that's always so important. Sealed indictments filed, 629,000 and some change. Remaining sealed indictments, 544,000 and some change. If you think about all the names involved with elections, Epstein, Obamagate, Pizzagate, fraud, COVID-19, human trafficking, and so much more, this number makes more sense. Also, it's all connected. That means RICO, military tribunals. The indictments stay sealed until gold time, and that time is coming. And I agree with him on that one. Let's get into these. Chuck Schumer goes and posts this video. And it says, the most important ad you will see on the Super Bowl Sunday. You don't move on from the largest sex trafficking ring in the world. You expose it. It says, stand with us. Tell Attorney General Pam Bondi we want to know the truth. There's no words to this. It's just background music. but it shows these different women. It says on November 19, 2025, the Epstein files, and then redacts the act. It's a shot against her, Pam Bondi, the DOJ, and Trump. Now, I want to remind you guys of something. And Dr. Catherine, PhD, kudos for her putting this, because not a lot of people, I'll say brave, were brave enough to pose the argument that Doc is here, and that I did too. And that's why I want to give her kudos on this. And I have let me read what she wrote, and then I'll bring you the large file so I can read you the highlighted parts of this newspaper article. She goes, "You're trying to say that Haley Robinson, who was an Epstein recruiter of young teens when she was 22, is a victim? Why is she in the video, Chuck? Why is Annie Farmer in the video when Judge Nathan, an Obama appointee, wasn't a victim during the Maxwell trial? You're a fucking scumbag attorney." So let's read what this article says here in the highlighted part. First one here. Hold on, I got to adjust my screen. Police said the woman who enlisted young girls for Epstein was Haley Robinson. Next part. Epstein said he'd pay her to bring him more girls. The younger, the better, Robinson told police, when she tried once to bring a 23-year-old. She said eventually brought 6 girls to Epstein who were paid $200 each time. Robinson said, "I'm like a Heidi Fleiss." That's her quote. Let's go here to the last highlight. One 14-year-old girl Robinson took to meet Epstein led police to start the investigation of him in March of 2005. And I believe that's the last one. And so why am I agreeing with this? Listen to this, folks. And it's not an easy listen, but here you go. First of all, they treated you like a criminal because you were. Second of all, when you became an adult and you continued to do it, you're not a victim. You guys call me heartless, whatever you want. Facts are the facts. When you go on to read in her testimony, or the summary of her testimony, some of the specifics, she was very intentional about who she targeted. She talks about how she targeted girls that had issues with credibility so that they went to say something, people wouldn't believe them. Or targeted girls that she knew wanted money or needed money because it would be tempting for them. Okay, that's it. That is a child trafficker. That is a child predator. These are the women that Massie and MTG were using to try to call out Trump. Why don't they come out and say the names? And for those of you that don't know, there's a huge segment of these victims that are now trying to go to court to get the shit to where they want to keep it sealed. Let me tell you why, folks. Because they thought it was a bluff. And they're realizing that Trump is going to drop all this information, and it's going to implicate a lot of them, because girls weren't just sexually assaulted and prostituted, girls were murdered. And they are very afraid of that. And so the reason I was giving props to the doc that posted that is because I did this post back in, I'm not going to read this whole thing, back in November. And I said, the Epstein scam nobody wants you to see are victims being used as political weapons to attack President Trump, who is taking down the deep state in order to protect the real monsters. Why can't we ask the obvious? If someone claims to be a victim but refuses to name names, refuses to explain how the operation worked, refuses to warn the public, and instead hides critical information behind paywalls, book deals, paid subscriber spaces, then the motives must be questioned. Not all victims are honest. Not all survivors tell the whole story. This is never mentioned, but always gaslit. Ignoring this fact jeopardizes legitimate victims. Honest question. If a victim becomes a recruiter, a handler, or a trafficker, are they still a victim? If you're victimized in this world and then trick your siblings or your friends into this world, what does that make you? If the victim only did it as a means of survival, then why allow years to pass and remain silent? Just say the names and let the investigations begin. It is what it is, folks. Rep. Anna Paulina Luna dropped this today. And I was like, holy shit, let's go. It has become very apparent that Jeffrey Epstein was grooming some of his victims to become traffickers. Some of the most horrifying emails being widely circulated are not from men, but from women who claim to be victims. Hence, some of the redactions. Once you turn 18, if you are still engaged in trafficking children, that is a choice. At that point, you are no longer a victim. You are a co-conspirator. To be clear, not all victims are guilty of this. However, it's a fact that some of them are. Yes, you heard that right. Some of the women claiming to be victims help traffic children. Clearly, this is just the tip of the iceberg, but it's important to recognize the facts. I'll tell you what, this is some hardcore vindication for me, because there were very, very few people that were willing to say that what I just read to you guys before this one, very few people willing to say that. Shout out to the doc who shared that newspaper article, because she's one of the brave ones that did. And now we're getting Congress saying, hey, you guys are right. Schumer got thousands in donations from Jeffrey Epstein. Why wasn't that in his video clip with the victims? Shadow of Ezra puts, Rep. James Comer says he will not bring Hillary Clinton into a public hearing to testify about her connection to Jeffrey Epstein. And before you panic and say, what? Let him explain why. It's a short one.
James Comer. All right. She wants to tell you how to do your job. You're saying no.
No, look, she has moved the goalposts millions of times throughout this entire process, then fires out an email attacking me today, accusing me of moving the goalpost, and she's the one who's tried to move the goalpost again. She agreed to a standard deposition. The deposition will be made public. So what she's asking for is already going to happen. The deposition will be videoed. You'll have the audio and a transcript. Everyone in America will have access to it. Every deposition I've ever done in the 3 years I've been chairman of the House Oversight Committee, we have released the transcript and the video and the audio. So what she's asking for is already going to happen. But what she really wants, Sean, is a committee hearing. And everyone that's ever watched a committee hearing in Congress, including the one in the House this week with the Treasury Secretary, knows that committee hearings are more for entertainment than substance. The deposition is for substance. This is a serious investigation. The purpose of the investigation is to get justice for the victims and to figure out why the government failed the victims and who the bad guys were and if they can be held accountable. So this is about the victims. This isn't about the Clintons. The Clintons are trying to play the victim cards. The victims of Epstein are the victims, not the Clintons.
I mean, there it is. And we're not done. Catherine Hedridge puts Zorro Ranch. You expect a podcast on this, a specific episode for this here in the very near future. Zorro Ranch emails about the alleged burials of victims on Epstein's Zorro Ranch property have no statute of limitations, can be investigated, says a former FBI special agent. I'll play the clip so you guys can listen to it. But she continues, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of conspiring with Epstein to sexually abuse minors. Maxwell has denied the allegations and sought to overturn her conviction. And speaking of overturning things, when we get into a conversation in a little bit, there's something that's happening that I have very bad vibes about. We'll get to that. First, let's take a listen to what this former FBI agent has to say.
There's another document in the Epstein files, and it relates to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Their allegations that young girls were in fact buried on one of his properties, or even lists of videos. Could that be investigated at this stage?
That could absolutely be investigated. There is no statute of limitations on that. And then also, if they have testimony or some type of witness saying that that is where they were killed, they can then go out and do a search and potentially find a body. It's going to be difficult years later to prove something like sexual assault, but if you can find the evidence that somebody was killed, that's totally different. And again, there's no statute of limitations. But see, this is also, Catherine, why you don't just say, oh, that crime that person committed is dropped off. We're not going to investigate that any further. Because you never know who these loop back around to. Because if this was a society of people abusing women, then, and some of them died, you really don't know who was connected to them. So that's, and who has knowledge of that. So that's why you would continue to look into all these different subjects.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is that you want to run down all of these leads, even if the statute of limitations has expired on a particular crime, because it will help you understand the community of individuals and whether there was, in fact, a conspiracy, and it's an ongoing conspiracy. This email with allegations that young girls were murdered and buried on Epstein's property, does that look like blackmail to you?
It looks like it could be any of several things. It could be blackmail. It could also be that somebody had some type of information and they wanted to make it known somewhere along the way that they had nothing to do with that. We've seen that in other cases where they send an email to somebody just so it can be known that we know that this occurred, but we didn't have anything to do with it. So there's different ways. I don't think there's enough evidence at this point for me to say blackmail or not, but is there a possibility? Of course, there's the possibility.
She's good. You got to admit that. I'm not going to play this clip. It's way too long, but the summary here is what I'll give you. Rep. James Comer says, as expected, Ghislaine Maxwell invoked the Fifth today and refused to answer our questions about her crimes with Jeffrey Epstein and potential co-conspirators. This is extremely disappointing. Our goal remains unchanged. Uncover the truth and secure justice for the survivors. Why is it disappointing if you already expected it? Like I'm not tracking there, Comer. I think you're fumbling your script here. Just like I don't like the fact that you gave Hillary and Bill 3 weeks to come up with this, because what are they going to do? They're going to plead the Fifth, and all you did was just buy them another 2 months of time. What's he's talking about? He's talking about this. And I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll play about a minute of it, because all she's doing is just pleading the Fifth through all the questions. But just to kind of show you guys what this kind of looks like, especially with Ghislaine herself, I'll play about a minute of this for you guys. If you guys want to see the whole thing, let me know in the chat. Just be like, nah, we want to. It's like 3 minutes. That's why. And some of the questions are interesting, but again, she's just pleading the Fifth the entire time. So I'm going to show a minute of it. If enough of you get crazy in the chat, maybe I'll let the whole thing play.
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffrey Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young woman or girl to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any other individual?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, did you and Jeffrey Epstein attempt to surround yourselves with influential individuals to curry favor and shield yourselves from potential scrutiny?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, can you please provide us with all the names of other additional co-conspirators to the crimes perpetuated by you and Jeffrey Epstein?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, is it your intention to answer every question put to you by the committee today with the assertion of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
The answer to that is yes also. So just as her lawyer, I'll tell you, yes, that's her intention.
I mean, there you go, folks. You have Tim Burchett goes nuclear. Any pedophile found guilty of crimes against children should be publicly hanged. I don't disagree with him. If they go through the process and they're found guilty of crimes against children in any fashion, physical abuse, sexual abuse in any fashion, I think the death penalty is a fair consequence to that. But I did see on social media some people were like, I can't believe you said that, or he went out. Let me remind you guys of who we are dealing with in these people. You're not going to like this. General Flynn posts a screenshot from Red Pill Bot. General puts, pure demons. They pretend to be Jesus, and Jesus rapes the child so that it separates them from Jesus and his love. This can't get any worse for me. This is so heartbreaking. The death penalty is not good enough for these people. They would probably enjoy the torture. He tags Donald Trump. Sir, you need to take this very seriously. No games. These demons must be held accountable. Red Pill Bot posts Jeffrey Epstein email exchange where they talk about a little girl praying in bed about Jesus saving her life. They are demons. Let me open this up so you guys can see this a little bit more. Email is dated July 19th, 2011, 10:20 p.m. Of course, the "Oh Jesus, I'm coming" trick, and obviously redacted information. Redacted said that she felt God's presence next to her when she was in bed. She knows that Jesus watches over her and he helped save her life. Whoops. That's the level of evil with these people, folks. I can't imagine the fear that little girl or child was going through. And they at least had the wherewithal to know, the power of Jesus and prayed for Jesus to save them. And these evil demons are joking about that. It's about as dark as these things get, folks. And here's Tim Burchett's response to, I believe I have this for you guys. Maybe I do not. I thought I did. But I'll just read it to you guys. Tim Burchett predicted Ghislaine Maxwell's potential future, suggesting someone might take her life if she doesn't take her own, because this thing goes very deep and the people involved in it are very powerful. Tim Burchett. So is things going to get a little too hot for Maxwell? And if that's the case, how do they protect her or secure her? I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one. There was a good question asked in the Rumble Rants. At the end of the show, when I read the Rumble Rants, I think one of those questions you guys are definitely going to appreciate. Some of you probably wondered it too. Let's fly through this stuff with Hillary, and we'll be done probably here in about 15 minutes. The White House, just in America, a suspect in the 2012 Benghazi attack that killed 4 Americans has been brought to the U.S. to face charges. Zubair al-Bakush will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Let's be clear, if you commit a crime against American people, The Trump administration will find you and justice will be served. Absolutely. And then right here, FBI Director Kash Patel, President Trump has never forgotten about Benghazi. And I do want to play this one for you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Sean. This is truly a historic day. Look, President Trump has never forgotten about Benghazi. President Trump has promised to deliver justice to the 4 brave Americans who are serving in Benghazi, who lost their lives to this act of terrorism. And for me, this goes all the way back to my days as a terrorism prosecutor in the National Security Division when I worked the Benghazi prosecutions at Maine Justice. And what we had to do was recalibrate how we looked at this case. Remember, this happened over 12 years ago. We had to go back and piece together the evidence, work with our interagency partners, including the CIA Director Ratcliffe, and have a brilliant partnership with the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to secure the evidence necessary and to produce that evidence in a court of law. But beyond that, we needed to get the guy. We actually had to go over there and get the guy and apprehend him and work with our interagency to secure his transfer. So late last night, actually early this morning, I was on an airfield in Virginia at about 2 or 3 a.m. where I witnessed Bakush, the individual who is alleged to be one of the masterminds of the Benghazi attacks, be transported by FBI foreign transfer of custody, as we call it, HRT operators and special agents in our flight aviations unit, along with our SWAT personnel, came in, secured this individual, and brought him back here to face justice. And the only way it's done is because President Trump gave us the resources, the directive, and the mission, and said there are 4 dead Americans. And though the prior administrations has forgotten about them, President Trump never forgets about these victims. And we hope today brings them a modicum of peace, Sean.
And if you guys forgot about Hillary Clinton's thought process on how she felt about Benghazi, let me remind you.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
What difference does it make? I'm with Monica on this. Buckle up. Folks, you are going to see the Clintons, especially Hillary, hit with Benghazi, hit with Haiti, crimes against humanity, election fraud, treason. It's going to get wild. Hillary Clinton posted this 4 days ago. For 6 months, we engaged Republicans on the Oversight Committee in good faith. We told them what we know under oath. They ignored all of it. They moved the goalposts and turned accountability into an exercise in distraction. Okay. So let's stop the games. If you want this fight, and she tags Rep. James Comer, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing, cameras on. We will be there. Now, me and Josh have kind of hinted at this. Why do you think Hillary Clinton wants a public, live, open to the audience hearing? Well, if your brain has been functioning at this hour, because I know we're tired, and you remember what I said earlier, they had a scripted outcome how this was supposed to play out. They want to come in. She wants to give testimony. One of 2 things, right? To put this on Trump and the good guys. This is the information we have. This is what these victims have told me. They were afraid to put it on paper, but these victims have come forward and they told me that Trump did do this to them. This is victim statements. Right? Or some people think that Hillary knows that she's toast and she just wants to bring the whole house of cards down with her. And maybe she just names everybody that betrayed her. I don't think that's the case. I think, me personally, that this is a strategic move because they think they got President Trump against the ropes. And I think they truly think it's going to work up until enter the Trump card, 18 USC 3521. Imagine the look on the world's eyes, the entire world, when we've all been talking about Epstein. You got clown, Masshole, and all these others, and Rokana, and all this, and Trump's this, and all this, and all this, all the hoax, the bullshit investigation that's out there. And then all of a sudden on the stand, you see Jeffrey motherfucking Epstein, and in an attempt to spare his life from capital punishment, He dimes off everyone. Don't matter what the reports say. You got the living. Remember what I said at the very beginning of the show? Suspect, witness. That's where this is going, folks. Todd Blanche stays Department of Justice, Supreme Court, Steve Bannon's conviction. This is what I'll tell you guys. We're wrapping it up here. This is going to be the finale. I'm not happy about this yet. I got bad vibes about it, the timing of it. If this would have been done months ago, I would have been okay with it. If this would be done months from now, I'd be okay with it. The strategic timing of it right now has me saying, what the fuck are you guys doing? Pardon my French. I'm tired. Let me explain why. Hillary and Bill are being called in to testify because the pressure that's being leveraged against them is that they defied subpoenas. And because they defied subpoenas, then we get to arrest them and put them in jail like they did to Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, right? Right. So why the hell are you doing this right now, Blanche? Today, the Department of Justice told the Supreme Court that Steve Bannon's conviction arising from the J6 Unselect Committee's improper subpoena should be vacated. Under the leadership of Attorney General Bondi, the department will continue to undo the prior administration's weaponization of the justice system. So the argument that's being made, because remember these arguments, perception for the normies is they did it to Navarro, they did it to Bannon, so there's precedent. And now what you're doing is you're undoing that precedence, creating the perception. I'm not talking about the written law, but you're creating the perception of it should have never been done because it's wrong. To all of a sudden give the Clintons an out to be like, oh, if they don't show up or they invoke the fifth and we don't get statements out of them, well, we shouldn't arrest them in defiance of the subpoena because it was wrong. And that's why we undid it against Bannon. And what we're probably going to hear is they're going to undo it against Navarro. I don't like the timing of this right now. This reeks of a bullshit move, especially coming from Todd Blanche. Not a fan of this guy at all. So we will observe this one over the course of the next few days, folks. But I'm Spidey senses going off on this one. Then this next one, if you guys watched Badlands Daily on Thursday morning, you got some insight to this, but I wanted to make sure I covered it on Just Alpha for my folks. Tulsi Gabbard posted this on February the 8th. So yesterday, 2 days ago for, those of you on the, well, no, it's 141 for me. So it's the 10th for all of us. She posted this right here with this like desert hilly background. Good morning. Strength and honor. And what caught my attention is I said, why does this remind me of another post that she did? You guys are like, what are you talking about? The last time she posted a media post or an original post, but specifically here, media, was this one. You guys remember these two posts right here? You should, because that was on January 1st, 2026. And she put, my heart is filled with gratitude, aloha and peace, hashtag 2026. 3 days later, we did a military strike on Venezuela and snatched up Maduro with the discombobulator. Folks, that's the last time she posted a photo. And the next time she posts a photo, we're right back to the morning hours, coffee, strength and honor. And this time, and just to go back over here, oops, got ahead of myself. A little spoiler alert. Let's go back over here. Beach and water, right? Signal to Venezuela. And now we get bushes, desert, and some hills. I don't know, somewhere in the Middle East, somewhere in Mexico. I don't know. All I'm saying is I say we definitely keep an eye out for the next 24 hours now, because 2 days have elapsed, and see if anything strategic happens, or maybe something with the elections. I just think that both these posts are indicators of something very important, very public, very noticeable, a huge event that's going to happen. Whether it's domestic, foreign, elections, a military strike, something I think we need to keep eyes out for in the next 24 hours. That's just some speculation. You guys can let me know what you think in the chat. And then shout out Dr. Russell McGregor says, were you there? Greatest military intelligence operation of our time. Indeed it is. Not just was, but indeed it is. And so with that, last couple things I want to bring to your guys' attention. RT puts China unveils Star Wars style space warship. Plans include orbital missile launches and unmanned space fighters. This has a lot to do with the SAP special access programs that me and Josh talk about, that Hillary Clinton, another thing that she's going to be held on the chopping block for when she gets judged, leaking that to China. Hence the reason they have the technology that they have, and why so many people keep telling you China's not a threat. They are, especially when Hillary Clinton gave them our patents to our SAPs, 100%. And on top of that, you got Laura Trump on UFOs. And I thought this was pretty cool. And then after this, we'll read Rumble Rants, and we will call it a night. And I'll close this out in prayer. But take a listen to what she says. It's kind of cool.
All the time. So we always have a great time. Next question. What do you or the president know about UFOs? Can you share? I hear that the president has something in the queue to share with us about all of this. Now, truth be told, I'm trying to remember how long ago it was. It may have been right after he left office, after the first term. I remember Eric being like, all right, what can you tell us? And he was a little hesitant to give us any real info, which makes me think like he's got a lot of info out there and he's waiting for the right time to drop it. And maybe this is going to be the time, because I keep seeing all these stories about how he's got some like UFO speech that he's got queued up, and we all should just kind of sit back and wait. Now, here's the thing I'll say. What do I know about UFOs? What I know is that our universe is so enormous. It actually, if I start thinking about it, it makes me a little crazy. You think about just our solar system, okay? And then you think about how many solar systems like ours are in our galaxy. And then you think about how many galaxies are in this universe. The whole thing is just, it's kind of like mind-boggling. So the idea that the only form of intelligent life out there is us, that we're like twerking on TikTok and stuff, that's it. I don't know. I find it hard to believe. I fully believe that there's other life out there throughout the universe. And if you look at some of the like prophets, these are people hundreds of years ago, or I don't even know how long ago, a lot of them say that sometime soon we're supposed to have some sort of an interaction with another form of life from outside of our planet. So I don't know. I fully believe there's more out there. I think it would be a heck of a waste of space if it's just us here and we're doing like dumb challenges and again, like just twerking on TikTok. There's got to be more out there. Okay.
You don't have to stop the twerking, but there should definitely be more than twerking that's out there. And for those of you that can see that MJ Truth put one of the Q posts up there and you're like, I can't see the number. Here it is for you folks. 2222 September 19th. Q. Are we alone? Roswell. No. Highest classification. Consider the vastness of space. And what is the highest classification? Security clearance. Oh, that would be Q. Very interesting on how all that worked out. Let me go full screen with me, pull this off. We're going to do Rumble Rants, and then I do have a special post after that. But let me bring up the Rumble Rants for you folks. While I'm doing that, if you guys can do me a solid and share this out so the people that are waking up all over the country can see this and share it and help get this into the leaderboard. And bear with me, folks. I'm trying to make this a little bit bigger so you can see. And we did have some on YouTube as well, so I will read those right now too. I'm not forgetting about you guys. Okay, now let me bring this on the screen. There we go. So we'll do like Kim K, start from the bottom. Now we're her. And lots of great, amazing distractions today. So I can tell this day is just going to be awesome. $7 coming in from Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. Love you, Alpha. Thank you. Love you too, Fighter. We got $10 from the new Prue. Good to go. Right on. G to G. Dollar for dollar. Keith O'Higgins. Alpha. I hope Judge Janine Piero doesn't handle this spitter case. We know she can't make Subway sandwich fluids stick for punishment. Oh, Keith. Dollar for dollar ZBM. Hence why G Money's Gtopia is unrealistic and fundamentally damaging to the USA's foundation, and also why the deep state is trying to get Americans to destroy the system our founding fathers set up. I don't know. I don't agree with you on that, ZBM. I think we are going to be pleasantly surprised with the way all that works out. $15 coming from Sandosen. Thank you, Alpha, for all the hard work. Thank you for staying up late with me for as long as you did. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. I just want to know the value of Bitcoin after Nassar Jassara, and I can buy some with Zimbabwe dollars and Iraqi deniers. My prior account was a woman and just invested hard on shoes. I'm just not going to comment on Nassar Jassara. I already got enough people mad at me today. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. Big Delta next Tuesday, February 17th. It's Fat Tuesday, and I'm thinking Delta Burke. She is 6'9". You bad one, Keith. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. I think Savannah and NBC are just trying to top the story of their last high-profile anchor, Matt Lauer, who butt-graped an underling at the Sochi Olympics in Russia. From pooper to pity, must-see TV. I'm not even sure I want to go look that one up, Keith. $5 from the final demand. Sean Ryan needs to shave or not shave. The 2/3 beard stubble sings H to the O to the M to the O. He said the Trump administration is protecting pedos. He's a dick bag. And if you didn't catch that, he was saying homo. I like the way you did that final. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. Alpha. Can we count on Rakana being the honest Indian? No, not a chance. He's a POS. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. Wasn't Nicki Minaj's cousin the original Big Balls? I do not know that. If that's the case, that's kind of hilarious. Keep it in the family. I don't know that one, Keith. $7 coming from Miss Ray of Freedom Fire. I didn't do any of it. You know why? I wouldn't participate in anything I knew was hurting people. You got a conscience. You're a good person, Freedom. $10 coming from Desert Joel 17. Love it when you get fired up, Alpha. Keep it coming. I will definitely keep it coming. You got it. Badlands is a badass. Bella is now a monthly supporter. And thank you for that, badass Bella. Definitely appreciate it. Seriously. Anybody that can become a monthly supporter, just know I salute you and thank you. Dollar for dollar, Keith O'Higgins. If Jeffrey Toobin was in Congress, would he be covered by the speech and master debate? Oh God, you are bad, Keith. $10 from Soar 47. Mad respect for your integrity and courageous work. Thank you for that, Soar. Thank you. I tried. Really do try my hardest. $20 coming in from Cara Maga. Great show. Thank you, Cara. $1 from Steph Asia. So, Alpha, are you saying, this is the question I told you guys I think you would appreciate. So, Alpha, are you saying Attorney General Barr was the one who put Epstein into WITSEC? That is one of the two running theories. It could have been Barr. Now, does that mean that was done for good reasons or bad reasons? There's a fork in that. If Barr is bad, did he do 18 USC 3521 to put Epstein into WITSEC in order to help him escape? Possible. If Barr is good, then was this something where they've always just had possession of him? Regardless if he's done it good or bad, I do believe that Trump and the White Hats have him in possession. Because even if Barr was bad and they used 18 USC 3521 as a means to get Jeffrey Epstein out of custody under the cover of WITSEC, they were still being monitored. And they still know what little island off of Venezuela, like Caracas, that he was taken to snatch him up anyways. So regardless of how that plays out, Steph, I think the good guys still got their hands on him, got him by the collar. And $1 from Redneck Renegade 03. Mondays are the only day I can catch y'all live. Glad to be here. I'm glad you're here too, Redneck. $1 for dollar. I watch Brian daily every day and Zach every day, 5 p.m. too. Go Pack Go. You got to cut me with that one. I'm not emotionally going to invest myself into that one, Redneck. Football season is over. The Super Bowl sucked. Not gonna let you get me emotionally with that one. I know you're trying to get me worked up at night. Ain't gonna happen. All right, let me bring on, and I'm gonna do the super chat from YouTube. I didn't forget about you over there. I promise. But I want to make sure that I get set up because I do have a special request from all you guys regarding something special. But let's get our super chat that came in. And this came in from Sherry Bertan 4026, $20 one. Alpha, just a little something to show our appreciation. You give us truth, facts, and tough love when needed. God bless America. P.S. I had to give my 36-year-old daughter tough love tonight on her parenting. Good on you. Good on you. She will appreciate it in the long run. I know I do. And I can show the super chats on the screen. So there you go. Beautiful pup too. Beautiful, beautiful pup. To all you guys that supported the show monetarily and just through your time, just know that it's appreciated. And I know times are hard sometimes. I'm going to read a post that's on here, and then I'm going to close this out in prayer with that. So do me a favor, folks, on the way out, we got a little over 1,500 people watching on Rumble. Wow, that's awesome. And almost 2,500 people on the other platform. So if my Marine math is mathing, that puts us somewhere in the round of 4,000 people that are watching live right now. On the way out, just take a little extra time to hit that heart, hit the thumb, and leave a comment, because the live chat will disappear. And if you're watching the replay, go down in the description and support the people that support this show and leave a comment. So with that, this is some heartbreaking news, folks. Very heartbreaking news. Ben Steiner posted, I have some rather bad news. My ex-family, after a failed attempt to fix my swallowing issues temporarily this weekend, I'll be going on hospice shortly. It's been a real pleasure to share my adventures with you guys, and I wanted to let you all know that it has meant a lot to me getting love and prayers from you all. Thank you to the @Mick Show peeps for having me in your community. I'm going to drop the link to this post in the live chats for YouTube and Rumble. I do not have access to drop it into the X one. And here's my special request from you guys. Whether you know Ben or you don't, you know, the man's counting hours. Send him a message. Let him know that he's seen. And let him know that he's going to be missed. And sometimes a message from a stranger is a very powerful thing. Don't pass up this opportunity, folks. Even if you're super tired tonight, you know, before the show's over, just click the link, click on his profile, and just send him a message. I'd hate to have to give news tomorrow and then people miss the opportunity. Send the man a message. And just let this be a reminder to all of us that life's just not fair sometimes, and the clock doesn't always work in our favor. And so what we do with the time that we have left matters. And my challenge to you guys, challenge number 2, after you do my special request to send Ben a message, challenge number 2 is that over the next few days, you reflect on your life and ask yourself if you're appreciating life the way you should. If you're appreciating your wife or your husband, your parents, your sons, your daughters, your grandchildren, your neighbor, your friend. Are you really valuing life for what it means? And if the honest answer to that is no, then fix it. Because I would imagine that Ben would probably trade our position with his position 99 out of 100 times right now just for time. So with that, let me do a big picture of Ben while we do a prayer right here. Dear Father, thank you for another great day of life. Thank you for my audience. Thank you for the people that help me to continue to put this together. Father, I thank you for giving me the strength and the work ethic to continue to push forward. Father, I ask that you give Ben the peace that he seeks. Father, regardless of what doctors say, labs, tests, assessments, you are still the ultimate miracle worker. And if Ben has pleaded with you for more time, I ask, Father, that you be his miracle. Father, I know that there are other people that are struggling with medical ailments in the chat that are watching now and that'll watch later, and I ask that you heal their bodies and bring them peace. Father, I also ask that you protect our discernment, that we don't go down the wrong paths, that we aren't misled to do things that hurt ourselves or hurt the ones that we love. Sharpen us as fighters and keep us moving in the right direction. We pray all this in your son Jesus' name. Amen. Don't pass the opportunity, folks. I'm tired, you're tired. Send the man a message. With that, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Good night. God bless and Semper Fi.